Cuba was the favored team coming into the Intercontinental Cup of Baseball, but they did lose one game. That means Cuba finishes in second spot in the round-robin portion of the tournament, setting up tonight's B semifinal against Chinese-Taipei. As far as Cuba wins are concerned, well, they showed plenty of power at the plate, including a 17-3 victory over Nicaragua. And, of course, the mercy rule was in effect that game. Cuba losing last night to Japan in their only loss. It could be considered an upset. Meanwhile, Chinese-Taipei also showed plenty of power at the plate. Look at these scores: 11-1 over Korea, 18-1 over Australia. Their 5-2 record included losses to Cuba and Japan. Welcome back to John Ducey Park. I'm Al Nagy. Tonight we have Cuba going up against Chinese-Taipei in the B semifinal. And now Cuba has been the most talked about team in the Intercontinental Cup, mainly because of its offense and because of the amount of I-Cups it's won before. Cuba going through the first few games of this tournament, averaging an incredible 11 runs per game. Joining me on tonight's telecast once again is Marty Larson. And Marty, Cuba over the last few games, however, has been held as far as run production is concerned, and last night coming off of that loss to Japan must be really hurting and would like to get some revenge back and get back on the right track.
I watched them out here taking their infield practice, Al, and they were really going through the paces as hard as they could go. I think they're up and ready for the game. They've been held down by good pitching in each of the last two games, and I don't think that the Chinese-Taipei team is going to hold them down. I think we're in for a big scoring game.
Of course, Chinese-Taipei has surprised many people with its offense, too.
That's right, and actually, when you go back over history, they've beaten Cuba quite often in international play. In fact, the Cubans beat them for probably one of the first time in many years in the round-robin tournament. So I think we're in for a good game, but I think it's going to be a high-scoring one. All
right, coming up, it's the B semifinal between Cuba and Chinese-Taipei. Welcome back to John Ducey Park. I'm Al Nagy with Marty Larson. The B semifinal tonight featuring Cuba and Chinese-Taipei. Cuba with some outstanding players on its roster. The Major League Scouts that were here earlier this week have been frothing at the mouth, you might say, just wishing they could get their hands on some of the Cuban players, such as Omar Linares. I think he's the most talked about Cuban player. He's 18 years old, a third baseman, but yet the Scouts have to stay away, and I understand they have actually tried to at least get their hands or at least talk to the Cubans, but of course the Cubans are reluctant and will not leave the country.
Well, I talked to Miguel Majuan, who is the official interpreter for the team, and he tells me that they have that kind of hero worship back in Cuba that the Russian hockey players have back in Russia, and a lot of things are important to them, and they're staying there.
And we are all set for the playing of the national anthems of the respective countries tonight. Cuba against Chinese-Taipei. The teams are taking to their positions along the left and right field lines for the playing of the national anthems.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the national anthems for tonight's B semifinal matchup. First, our visiting team this evening, the national anthem from Chinese-Taipei.
In the regular round-robin game between these two teams, Cuba and Chinese-Taipei, it was Cuba posting an 8-4 victory, and 21 hits were pounded out in that game. And Marty, that's an indication that maybe we'll see a similar type of contest tonight at John Ducey Park.
I think so, Al. When you've got a 500 hitter leading off for Chinese-Taipei, this is quite unusual. And they've got power through the lineup. They've got speed. The Cubans had to resort to more basic baseball the last couple of games, one that they won, one that they lost. And it'll be interesting to see if they get back playing long ball once again.
The batting order for Chinese-Taipei, who will take to the plate first, facing Ronaldo Caso, looks like that. Tai Chuan Xiang leading it off, the right fielder, followed by Yung Tai Sung. Ming Su Lu, the designated hitter, in the third spot, followed by Fu Lin Wu, Pai Xian Tiang, the first baseman, Zhang Nang Tu, the catcher. In the number 6 spot in the batting order, Wen Xing Lu, Qi Xian Ye, Qi Chun Lu, the 9th spot in the batting order.
And we'll be sending you over to Hong Kong to do the games there in another year or so, Al.
Ronaldo Costa on the mound for Cuba. There you see the numbers on Costa coming into this game. 8 innings pitched in the Intercontinental Cup. He's registered 6 strikeouts. He's allowed 3 walks, 5 hits, 2 runs, no earned runs. Thus his 0.00 earned run average. Ronaldo Costa for Cuba.
He's a 25-year-old, and this is only his 2nd appearance, but he went 8 innings in the first one, and as you say, he pitched a very good game. No major changes in the Cuban lineup. They've been pretty steady all the way through. Great fielding on the left side of that diamond for the Cubans, of course, with Linares at third and Hova at short.
Defensively, the Cubans line up like that. In the outfield, it's Lourdes Gurriel. In left, Lazaro Contreras, the center fielder, Luis Casanova in right. The infield, Omar Linares at third, Pedro Hova, the shortstop, Antonio Pacheca, the second baseman, Antonio Munoz at first, and Juan Castro in behind the plate.
I think you're looking at least 3 and maybe 4 of the tournament all-stars in the Cuban lineup right now, Al. Pretty difficult to keep Hova out of there unless his hitting drops off. And the third baseman, Linares, is almost a sure thing. I think Casanova in right is also sure.
Chiang swings and misses on the first pitch, and this game is underway.
It's interesting that among the top hitters, though, 4 of the top hitters are left fielders, and 4 of the top hitters are right fielders, which makes it pretty tough when you're picking an all-star team.
Chiang with a base hit up the middle, and Chinese-Taipei gets things going right away.
This fellow is batting .531. He won the batting crown in the first 8 games, first 8 days of the tournament, and he just keeping it going.
Chiang came into this game with a .531 batting average through the round-robin portion, and as Marty mentioned, that was number 1 among all teams. With Chiang on base, Yung Tai Sung, the left fielder, steps up. Sung comes into the game with a .417 batting average through the I-Cup. He lays down the bunt.
And he's going to beat it out, too. Perfect drag bunt out there past the pitcher, between the first baseman and the second baseman. A beautiful bunt. Very quickly, 2 hits for Chinese-Taipei. Nobody out.
There he lays it down, and the pitcher, Ronaldo Costa, was off balance, and by the time he was able to run it down, it went right between everybody, and of course, Sung was on base. So we've got Tai Chung Chiang over at second, Yung Tai Sung at first, and that'll bring up Ming Su Lu.
I think if they were showing the films of how to play baseball to youngsters starting out, they would describe that as the perfect drag bunt. You just get it past that pitcher's mound where the pitcher can't make a play on it, and of course with everybody breaking on the play, no one can pick it up.
Ming Su Lu is the designated hitter for Chinese-Taipei. He comes into this game with a .464 batting average. A called strike on the first pitch from Ronaldo Castro.
Al, throughout the series, if we check back on it, we would probably see that 6 out of the 8 games that Cuba's been involved in, the other team has jumped on them very quickly. But in most cases, they weren't able to hold it.
The 0-1 pitch from Costa. 1-1 now, the count to Liu, who leads Chinese Taipei in the RBI category. He's knocked in 11 runs so far with a .464 batting average.
Well, especially when you've got the leadoff hitter on base as often as Chang has been, it makes it a lot easier to bat in some runs.
1-1 to Liu, and Costa threatens to go back to second base. Over at second base, Chiang. The 1-1 pitch is foul as Liu attempts to lay down the bunt. And the count goes to 1-2. The first two batters on base with singles. Chiang getting the base hit, and of course, Sung with that infield single on the bunt. On deck for Chinese Taipei, Pai Qian-Ching. Ground ball to third. The shortstop, Hova, gets the force at second, one down. Runners at the corners now for Chinese Taipei. Ming-Tzu Liu gets on base on a fielder's choice. And there you see the replay, the outstanding shortstop for Cuba. Throwing off balance, that's Pedro Hova going over to the second baseman, Antonio Pacheco. One down, Chinese Taipei with runners at first and third now. Over at third is Tai Chuan Chiang, and over at first is Ming-Tzu Liu. That'll bring up Fu Lin Wu.
And you want your cleanup hitter coming up with men on base, and he's got two of them on there.
Wu comes into this game with a .276 batting average. The first pitch is a ball, 1-0. Wu with 6 RBIs so far in this tournament. He struck out 3 times and has been issued a couple of walks. The 1-0 pitch, a breaking ball, caught the outside corner. Ronaldo Costa brings the count to 1 ball and 1 strike.
Now we still have a bit of that breeze we had this afternoon, but it has calmed down quite a bit.
Swing and a miss. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Breeze is blowing from left field towards right, so it would benefit any left-handed pull hitters. Makes it a little more difficult for a right-handed pull hitter to get it out of here. Mind you, those Cubans usually hit those home runs on a line drive anyway.
And in case you weren't with us this afternoon for the A semifinal game, it was Japan losing to Korea by a score of 4-3. Japan trailing 4-1 in the bottom of the 9th, but came back with a couple of runs, fell short. Game ended with a pop fly, an outstanding pitching performance by Ki-Bum Kim, named the player of the game for Korea. The 1-2 pitch is outside. Count goes to 2-2 now. Fu Lin Wu.
Interesting that their cleanup hitter is only batting .276, Al. You'd think that they'd have some of the people in there hitting for higher average. It must be that he has the power. Either that or he is just not playing up to par.
Tai Chun-Sang started the game off for Chinese Taipei with a base hit. Yung Tai-Sung followed with an infield bunt. Fly ball, fouled back, 2-2.
Playing a little hit and run there.
Of course, Ming-Tzu Liu, the designated hitter, got on base in a fielder's choice. Yung Tai-Sung was thrown out at second on the force. So it's Tai Chung Chang over at third and Sulu at first on the 2-2 count. Ronaldo Costa threatens to go back to first in the pickoff move, but holds back to the ball.
I think our viewers would find it interesting, Al, that we're working from the same booth as the Chinese Taipei television and radio broadcasters. It's going to make for an interesting evening here.
I think they'll find it very interesting when Chinese Taipei scores a few runs.
Well,
like right now. Listen to the cheers.
Chinese Taipei has their own cheering section right here in the booth.
So a base hit and an RBI by Fu Lin Wu, and it's a 1-0 game for Chinese Taipei.
3 hits already for Chinese Taipei.
Right back up the middle in between the shortstop Pedro Hova and Antonio Pacheco.
And Jose Pineda, the Cuban manager, coming to the mound, and just keep an eye on it out there, fans. The rule is that not more than 3 people could be on the mound at once, and the Cubans will stand just on the edge of that grass, offering their point of view.
Jose Pineda has the reputation of a very intense manager, as we've seen him many of times throughout this tournament be quite vocal. A 1-0 game. Chinese Taipei takes the lead. The RBI single by Fu Lin Wu, bringing home Tai Chung Chang, the leadoff hitter for Chinese Taipei. And Pai Tian Ching, the first baseman, will step up to the plate now. Incidentally, Chinese Taipei have their names reversed, of course. In China, the first names go last. And so you'll see Pai Tian Ching is really pronounced in China Qian Pai Xian. However, in talking to the broadcaster, as the team broadcaster just looked behind and nodded my head, that's correct. It's and they said it's correct in North America to pronounce it the North American way by putting the first name first rather than the first name last. The 0-1 count now to Qian is outside. I think the most, of late anyway, the most recognizable Chinese name to reach prominence in pro sports is T.C. Chen, the professional golfer on the PGA Tour.
And obviously he's using his name the way that North Americans would. Jorge Valdez throwing down there in the bullpen for Cuba right now. A left-hander. Obviously the Chinese Taipei team is stacked with a few lefties in this game, and that would be the obvious move, to bring in a lefty and shake up the lineup, make a few changes.
Ching has a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes now, with 1 down in the Chinese Taipei first inning, with runners at first and second. 3 hits for Chinese Taipei so far. The fastball by Ronaldo Costa goes outside, and the count comes to 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Costa's thrown quite a few pitches already here in the first inning. He's been behind on the hitters or gone 2-2 on a couple of them.
Yongnan Su, a catcher, is on deck. Ching with a chopper over the mound. Costa can't get it. Pacheco goes to first. The second baseman, Pacheco, gets out number 2. The runners advance with 2 down.
Well, we have 2 runners in scoring position again, Al, with this high hopper, and we were talking about it in the earlier game about how hard the diamond seems to be, and we're getting some very big bounces, almost like artificial turf.
Do you think it's the bats, though? Do you think the aluminum bats will have something to do with that?
Well, they're obviously pounding the ball down very hard, so they are probably adding something to it.
Yongnan Su is the batter now with 2 down and runners at second and third.
Very stocky individual here. Looks like he's got power.
Ming Su Lu is over at third. Fu Lin Wu at second base. 1-0 the count to Yongnan Su.
I think Costa has been told to keep the ball away from some of these good Chinese hitters, and in so doing he's been getting himself in a hole and then having to come in with the ball.
Here's the 1-0 from Lacosta. Fly ball into right center. Here comes one run and maybe two. A 3-0 Chinese
And the cheering
Taipei
section up
lead.
here goes mad. 3-0 now.
An RBI blooper by Yung Yang Tzu into right center, scoring Ming Su Lu and Fu Len Ru, making it a 3-0 ball game for Chinese Taipei. Lazaro Contreras, the center fielder for Cuba, had to play it on the hop. The throw comes in offline, and just like that, Chinese Taipei takes a commanding 3-0 lead. And just like that, we have a conference again on the mound.
Costa is gone now. They're bringing in the relief pitcher already.
Well, the manager of the Cuban team is not taking any chances, Marty. Four hits in the game off Ronaldo Costa. Costa going 2/3 of an inning, and he will say goodbye.
The 3 runs are charged to Costa, and the runner on first base is his responsibility as well. Makes for an astronomical earned run average, Al.
Certainly does. I think the earned run average, however, is not of a major concern right now to Ronaldo Costa. He'll be hoping that this man, or not the man you're watching, but the man on the mound right now, number 38 for Cuba, will be able to bail them out of this situation. And of course, that man being Jorge Valdez.
This is the third, or check me, the 4th game in a row that the Cubans have fallen behind early. They had trouble with Canada in the first inning. They had trouble with the United States. The next game was Cuba last night. They fell behind in that one, and now they're behind against Chinese Taipei. Maybe, Al, the Cubans started to read their own press clipping.
Well, they were certainly highly spoken of coming into this tournament. Those are the numbers in Valdez coming in, a 1-0 record. Earned run average of 2.00. Valdez has gone 9 innings so far in this tournament with 6 strikeouts. He's allowed 6 walks, 5 hits, 2 runs, both of them earned, and has committed 1 error.
He gets behind very quickly, 1-0. They had quite a battle with Chinese Taipei the first time around, Al. It was a good game until the Cubans broke it open later on in the game.
Wing Sing Lu, the batter with a 278 average coming in. The 1-1 pitch. Liu gets just a piece of it. Jorge Valdez in relief of Ronaldo Costa.
7th batter in this inning for Chinese Taipei. Great start for the team. Not much of a lead at first with a left-handed pitcher.
The 1-2 pitch is once again fouled off.
Cuba has another right-hander throwing down in the bullpen. Al, that's Luis Tissert, who's started a couple of games for that team.
The 1-2 throw from Valdez is wild. Su goes into second. Chinese Taipei with another runner in scoring position already with a 3-0 lead.
Take a look at that one and see whether we call that a wild pitch or a pass ball.
Pass
I
ball,
think
Marty.
It's a pass ball?
Yeah.
That's one that could almost go either way. It's low and in the dirt.
Yeah. 2 balls and 2 strikes right now to the batter Liu.
And we have a full count now.
Four hits for Chinese Taipei. 3 runs have been scored in this, the top half of the first inning. Yu gets a base on balls from the relief pitcher, Jorge Valdez.
Cuba's not out of trouble yet. We go to the 8th man in the order.
The outside pitch, clearly a ball. Home plate umpire says you get first base. 8th man in the batting order is Chi Xian-ye. Yeah, the third baseman. 389 average coming into this game. The inside pitch. Yeah, was 1 for 2 with a double and an RBI in his last performance against the Cuba team, of course, in the round robin. He's got a count now of 2-0.
Fairly experienced Chinese Taipei team here, Al. The youngest player in the starting lineup is 21, and the number 9 hitter is 28. They play in an industrial league much as the Japanese team does.
2-0 to Ye.
Tissert down there throwing fairly hard in that Cuban bullpen.
Two and 1 to Ye. Up the middle, a base hit. Here comes Su. No, he's going to hold up at third. The throw came in.
Now we've got 2 runners at third base, Al.
Yep, and we're going to have the catcher playing the tag unassisted for out number 3. So the lead runner, Su, was tagged out between third and home. A base running mistake by Chinese Taipei for the 3rd out of the inning. Now you see the base hit by Ye going into center field. Lazaro Contreras playing it on the 1-hop. Rounding third at this time was Liu.
Great throw to the plate. And the runner coming around third stopped, but the runner coming around second was in full speed, and he wasn't stopping at all. So it really wasn't this runner's fault.
He missed him.
But in actual fact, he ran out of the baseline, Al, and I think that's why he was called out by umpire Dennis Papella.
Exactly. All right, so Chinese Taipei makes a base running mistake. However, I think they'd still take it because they end up with 3 runs in the first inning on 5 hits. Welcome back to John Ducey Park. I'm Al Nagy with Marty Larson. Quite an inning for Chinese Taipei to get things going, and now we'll see Cuba step up to the plate. Omar Linares, the third baseman at the plate right now, the 18-year-old star for Cuba, has a count of 0-1. He'll be followed by Pedro Hova, Luis Casanova, Antonio Munoz. The 0-1 pitch is a breaking ball, called strike, 0-2.
I think that the start that Chinese Taipei has here really would be a shock to Cuba. They're really counting on getting into that gold medal.
Starting on the mound for Chinese Taipei, Hung Sin-tu, number 35. An earned run average of 1.08 coming into this contest. That, of course, through 8 1/3 innings. The 1-2. Breaking ball misses.
He's one of the younger members of the team. He's 21 years old.
Su has 7 strikeouts registered so far. And there you see the official numbers from the I-Cup. And he gets rid of the 2-2 pitch. Breaking ball misses inside, 3-2. Su with 2 hits allowed, 1 run, and it was an unearned run. ERA of 1.08. The 3-2. To the right side. Ching makes it unassisted, 1 down. Pai Xian-Ching, the first baseman, making the defensive play for the first out of the Cuba first inning.
Played the ball perfectly. Just make sure you knock it down and stop it from going through, and then you've got lots of room to get there.
We'll get another look at it, Marty, from our first base camera. Actually, he was playing fairly deep as well.
One thing that you may notice for our viewers is that in many cases when the Cubans hit a ground ball that looks like a sure out, they don't run out the play. Somebody said they'd hate to see what would happen if they were playing for Pete Rose.
Pop fly situation or a fly ball to center field. They'll rather walk to the dugout than run it out. Like to see what would happen, Marty, in the case of the outfielder dropping the ball. The guy'd have to get out of the dugout and go back to first. 1 ball, 1 strike to Pedro Hova.
Nice pitch.
1-2.
Good pitch. This trend continues that we've seen in the top of the first inning. Now we could be in for a noisy session here tonight.
You got it. Here's the 1-2 delivery by 2.
The game also going back to Cuba and all the feeds being supplied by ITV. A busy time for our producers and directors and people like that tonight.
And they're all doing an outstanding job from all the reports I've heard from the Cubans and from the Chinese Taipei people. Fly ball is fouled off to the right side. The Chinese Taipei and Cubans are extremely happy with the coverage that our producers and directors and crew have been providing. Two balls and 2 strikes to the left side. Outstanding stab by the third baseman. Yeah, on the play for out number 2, and that was basically saved a base hit.
That one had base hit written all over it. He really got a hold of it, right in the wheelhouse, as they say, and right on the line to the third baseman.
Qi Xian-Ye making the play. 2 down.
Be interesting to see how they pitched to Casanova. When the Americans faced him, they preferred to walk him rather than have to face that big home run. But last night, the Japanese pitcher, Kikukawa, struck him out 3 times. Still has a .429 batting average.
Of course, Luis Casanova can do everything well. 0-1 the count. He runs the bases so well. He's got one of the most accurate throwing arms you'll ever see. And he's the guy who took home most of the awards at the 1981 Intercontinental Cup. The 0-1 to Casanova. 1-1.
Big Casanova, as the Cubans call him, is married and has twin daughters about 5 years old. Very popular man in Cuba. He and 4 other members of this team played on the Cuban championship team the last 4 years.
Curveball misses by 2, and the count goes to 2-1.
He's another one of these batters that gets very annoyed when the pitcher won't throw the ball over the plate so he can have a whack at it. We saw that earlier today with one of the Korean players, Bake.
No doubt about it. Luis Casanova likes to hit the ball and hit it well. High pitch there. The count goes to 3 balls and 1 strike now to Luis Casanova from Hu Chin Lu.
I don't know whether we'll pick it up, the sound of the bats, but the Cuban bats do sound a little different than the other bats that we've been hearing in the tournament.
3-1, swing and a miss. And why is that, Marty?
Well, I'm told that they're newer bats and that they are coated with some kind of plastic coating that gets away from the ping that you get on all the other hits. Mind you, so many of the Cuban hits have been so solid. When you do get a really solid hit off these aluminum bats, they sound like wood.
Line drive, and Wu makes
hit.
a try, but he's unable to get a handle on it, and a base hit by Luis Casanova. The shortstop, Fu Lien Wu, made a nice try, only got a piece of it. And with 2 down, Luis Casanova is on first. Here's another look. Fastball running inside. And watch Wu make the dive. Just missed it. A base hit by Luis Casanova, the first one of the game for the Cubans, and that'll bring up Antonio Munoz.
Interesting story on this fellow, Al. I was lunching with a couple of the Cuban reporters today, and they tell me that at the age of 18, Munoz didn't even know what baseball was all about. He'd never heard of the game. He came from the Escambray Mountains in Cuba, and they call him Guajillo, which I guess means hillbilly. And he came, for the first 2 years he played baseball in Cuba, he'd come to the ballpark riding on a horse.
Right out of the country.
I don't know if it's one of those stories they tell, but it makes a very interesting story.
And the little Guajillo has a count of 2-0 right now. He's not that little either. Fastball is called for a strike. 2-1 the count to the batter, Guajillo.
Our viewers should watch when Munoz is up at the plate. When the umpire calls a strike on him, he'll nod his head. And usually when it's a ball, he'll shake his head.
The 2-1, fouled off. Maybe not. It's in
right
there.
On the line. It's on the line.
The wind pulled it back.
For 2 bases.
Here comes 1 run. So a bloop double to the left side by Antonio Munoz. Drives in Luis Casanova from first.
Al, I'm surprised after watching the Americans play Munoz that the Chinese Taipei people hadn't caught on to the way that he hits.
Watch how close this is. In by about a foot. I think the wind pulled that in, Marty, because it had been fading foul, and it was just a bloop to the left side. And the wind is blowing quite strong yet from left to right.
Recall the other night that the American right fielder made a great catch at the 4:15 mark, right out by the Coca-Cola sign on Munoz, and he was the right fielder. That would have been a ball that normally would have been caught by the center fielder. The Americans were playing a shift as if he batted left-handed.
Ground ball and
great play
outstanding play by Wu. They go to third, and it's safe all around. Antonio Munoz going into the head-first slide. Lourdes Gurriel with a base hit.
Heads-up play by the Chinese Taipei infield there because they caught Munoz just a shade off third, but it's a base hit.
What a stab by Wu.
Tell you what, Al, the fielding by this Chinese Taipei shortstop has to make you wonder whether Hova will get the All-Star.
Right. And I'll tell you what, Antonio Munoz almost overran the third base bag. And I don't know if we'll get a look at it, but Lourdes Gurriel with the infield single really flung his bat after getting that base hit. He almost flung it halfway back to the dugout. With 2 down, the batter is Antonio Pacheco. Cubans have come right back. After Chinese Taipei took a 3-0 lead in the first half of the inning, the Cubans have runners at first and third now, and they're down just by 2 runs. And Pacheco, the batter. Ground ball up the middle.
This should do it.
Liu gets the force at second, and that'll do it. That'll retire the side. But Cuba comes back with 1 run and leaves 2 men on. It's a 3-1 Chinese Taipei lead. We are back at John Ducey Park. I'm Al Nagy with Marty Larson, Chinese Taipei, out in front of Cuba by a score of 3-1. And leading it off for Chinese Taipei in the top half of the second inning, Chi Chun Li, the center fielder. Li, in his previous game against Cuba, was 1 for 1 at the plate.
Some great fielding already in this ball game.
Lee comes into this game with a .500 batting average. Outstanding defense, especially by Chinese Taipei. The 1-0 delivery. Fly ball to left. Lourdes Gurriel calling for it in left field, makes the catch. 1 down. And then that'll bring us to the top of the batting order, and Tai Chuan Chiang, the right fielder. Chiang got a base hit in the first inning and ended up scoring the first run of the game on the base hit by Fu Lien Wu.
Al, you were talking earlier about the baseball scouts looking at Linares and drooling over some of the Cubans, but they have been watching this team, and I know they were quite impressed with several of the players. Their DH, for example, has been a pretty good hitter in the early part of the tournament.
Ming-Tzu Liu.
He had 2 home runs in 1 game here against the Americans, and then got a brushback pitch that almost caused the umpire to go out and warn the pitcher.
The 1-1 delivery by Jorge Valdez. Swing and a miss.
Our viewers just got a chance to see how the Asiatic teams continue to have their pitcher warm up even while the team is batting.
We saw that quite a bit this afternoon with Japan and Korea.
Good pitch.
A called strike hitting the outside corner, and that is the first strikeout of the game for the relief pitcher for Cuba, Jorge Valdez. By the way, here's a look at that last pitch. It caught the outside corner. Valdez coming around with a fastball. Excellent location. By the way, Valdez came into the game in the first inning when Ronaldo Costa had given up 4 hits.
Chang stands away back from the plate, Al, and I think that one fooled him.
Jung Tai-sung, the left fielder, at the plate now. Sung with the infield single and a bunt in the first inning. The 0-1 pitch from Valdez. 1-1 now.
What started out in that first inning to be a very simple little sacrifice turned into a disaster for the Cubans.
1-2 with 2 out.
I think the breeze is dying down even more, Al. We can see the flags beginning to droop a little bit out there in center field.
Ground
Base
ball,
hit.
and it's through the hole on the right side. So with 2 out, Chinese Taipei gets a man on base, and that'll bring up Ming-Tzu Liu, the designated hitter. Here's what happened. In between Antonio Munoz and, of course, Antonio Pacheco. Ming-Tzu Liu, the designated hitter, reached base in a fielder's choice in the first inning and scored the second run of the game. Outside pitch, 1 ball, no strikes.
Against the Americans, he hit one deep to left for the first home run, and then just barely over the fence in right field, right down the line. Munoz is a great sport out there. Great favorite of the fans, too. I think that's why they started shouting Reggie, Reggie, Reggie when he was here 4 years ago.
Howie Burney, the first base umpire, also got a kick out of that. And this time, so did the base runner, Jung Tai-sung.
He might just be trying to lull him into a false sense of security out there, too.
The 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike now.
Dennis Papella of Fort Saskatchewan behind the plate tonight. One of the 2 Alberta umpires working the series. John Coble from Lethbridge, the other.
2 balls and 1 strike now to the batter, Ming-Tzu Liu.
This is probably the last time that fans in North America will see Munoz in an international baseball scene. He's 36 years old. Although he's playing ball just as good as he ever did, he's getting a little long in the tooth for international baseball.
One of the best in the world, so they say.
Great resemblance to Tony Perez.
Doesn't he ever look like Tony Perez?
The Cubans very tricky with that ball at times. They pulled a hidden ball trick this week against Korea, much to the chagrin of a runner who was on second base at the time.
Breaking ball misses.
Walk.
Runners now at first and second for Chinese Taipei. That's the second walk allowed by Jorge Valdez. Here's how it looked. Valdez electing to use the breaking ball, and it misses outside.
Will the groundskeeper please turn on the light?
So with runners at first and second, Fu Lin Wu will
Another
step
trip to
up
the mound
plate.
by Jose Pineda.
Pineda isn't wasting any time, and as Marty pointed out before, you see the conference on the mound. Almost the entire infield will cluster around the pitcher, but only 3 men are allowed on the pitcher's mound. The others will be on the borderline, right on the edge.
Jose doesn't look too happy at the moment, Al.
He rarely does.
I think one of the few times we saw him smiling was the other night when the fans tried the big wave.
He couldn't figure it out. Fu Lin Wu with a base hit tonight. Steps up to the plate now. Runners at first and second. Wu also scored in that inning. And his base hit drove home Ming-Tzu Liu, the designated hitter. Liu scoring from third base. 0-1 the count to Liu. Outside pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike now.
Louis Tissard continuing to work in the bullpen for Cuba.
There you see him. Tissard has gone 14 innings in this tournament so far, registering 8 strikeouts and a 2.57 earned run average. And we might see him into the game sooner than you think.
Tissard started the game on Tuesday night against Canada. That's the pitcher that Pineda refused to tell me. The Cuban manager, Pineda, refused to give me much information on. Munoz trying to give a little pep talk to the pitcher, Jorge Valdez, who suddenly lost his control here.
Somehow I think if you ask the Cuban manager Pineda for the time of day, he would not say.
He smiled when he asked me what the Canadian pitcher threw. I think he thought that was a pretty good joke.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Wu, with Liu over at second base. Sang over at second and Liu at first.
The lights are on here at John Ducey Park. It's been a great day for baseball, and the forecast for tomorrow's 2 final games at 1 o'clock and 4:30, more of the same. Winner of this game, of course, will meet Korea in the gold medal final. Loser of this game will play at 1 o'clock in the bronze medal final against Japan.
The 2-2 pitch to Wu. Misses outside, and Jorge Valdez with that breaking ball has missed outside frequently so far.
Japan, of course, very disappointed in losing that game to Korea today. They wouldn't even talk to the press after the game, Al.
It was a heartbreaker for them, Marty. They gave it a good try coming back in the 9th inning like that with a couple of runs, losing 4-3.
I think their pitching staff was just getting a little tired, and I think that's where they fell down.
The 3-2 pitch is outside, and the bases are loaded for Chinese Taipei and for Pai Xing-Chen, who will step up to the plate with 2 out. And again, I believe Valdez elected to go for that outside pitch, and he missed the corner. In the background, you see the man warming up for Cuba, Tissert. Jose Pineda, the manager, has not made a move yet. There's a called strike on the inside corner.
Right now he's got lefty against lefty, so he'd be prepared to stay and go this way.
Ball 0-1 to Ching. Bases are loaded, 2 down. Chopper over the middle. This should do it. Pacheco gets the force at second. And Wu is the 3rd out of the inning. So the Chinese Taipei leads 3 men on base. Welcome back to John Ducey Park. I'm Al Nagy with Marty Larson. Chinese Taipei leaving 3 men on base in the last inning. No runs scored and a 3-1 lead.
You can't afford to leave those men on base against Cuba, but they did all come after 2 were out.
Lazaro Contreras, the batter for Cuba now. Contreras making his first appearance. You saw on the graphic that he is 0 for 0, but he did not reach base in the first inning. This is his first appearance in the game. Here's the 1-0. And a good pitch. Two balls and 1 strike to Lazaro Contreras.
Tonight we have the Chinese Taipei cheering section right behind the 3rd base dugout. They've got flags and they're going to be making lots of noise as their team is leading in this ball game.
3 balls and 1 strike now to Contreras. Contreras was 2 for 3 in the regular round robin game against Chinese Taipei with a 1 scored, and of course that was on the home run that he smacked in the 4th inning. This is a walk being allowed to Contreras. And here's what that pitch looked like. Fastball, more of like a cut fastball, sinking back inside, but it was high. And Hu Tin-Tu allows a base on balls. That's the first one against Tu this game. And Fernando Sanchez, the designated hitter, comes up now. Sanchez only 1 for 10 with 1 RBI in this Intercontinental Cup tournament so far.
Some of the DHs have not been all that successful in this tournament. Al, the Chinese Taipei has been one of the exceptions. He's hit consistently. And the Japanese DH has done pretty well, but for example, the designated hitter for Nicaragua failed to make a hit at all. Leads one to wonder what qualified him to come with the team.
Makes you wonder why they left him in there so long. 1 ball and 1 strike to the designated hitter Sanchez. He's working with a man on base. Chopper to the 3rd baseman. Yeah, goes to second. They got 1 and not 2.
Fortunately for Chinese Taipei, that ball hit the runner. And so he's just staying there on first with the fielder's choice.
You'll see in the replay how the ball did strike the man getting on first. That's third baseman Chi Xian-Ye making the throw to second. And the throw from Liu going to first, bouncing off the base runner. To the bottom of the batting order for Cuba and Juan Castro.
That ball could have very easily got by, but it didn't look like Sanchez was making the turn anyway.
0-1 to Castro, 1 down in the Cuba half of the second inning and a man on base. 9 hits in the game so far, 6 of them by Chinese Taipei. Cuba is the home team here this evening, and of course, if you did not catch this afternoon's broadcast, we explained that the home and away teams were chosen at random. Hard hit ball to left center, look out! It's gone! A 2-run home run for Juan Castro. Ties the ball game. Castro's second home run of the tournament. And just like that, Cuba flexes the muscles and they are back in the ball game. What a happy crew.
That's the first home run they've had in 3 games, and I think that would make them quite happy. Oddly enough, it comes from the 9th man in the batting order.
There's a look at Cuba getting back to normal. Left center field. Yai Tsung Tsai going back for it, and he did not get it. No play for him, and the game's tied at 3.
And Chinese Taipei sends somebody down to the bullpen.
To the top of the batting order for Cuba now, and Omar Linares. Linares grounded out in the first inning.
Linares had a very good shot at the batting title getting late in the tournament, but the 7th game was really what finished him and let the Chinese batter end up with the batting championship.
So the bases have been cleared for Omar Linares, who had a good game in his last contest against Chinese Taipei in the round robin. He was 2 for 4, 2 runs scored, 1 double. Duster, 1-1.
Pitch got away there.
The home run by Juan Castro ties the game in the bottom of the second inning. Fly ball to right. Is it going to stay fair? No, it won't. I think that went over the fence, too. No, it didn't. Or did it? Did Chang pick it up?
Came very close to going over the fence, but it didn't. It was a well-hit ball, but straight down the line and just curving foul.
From our line of sight, it's difficult to tell whether it stayed in or out, but I believe it is over the fence. Well, let's have another look at it to make sure. Ching going back for it. And you see how close it was. That pole there is fair and foul. It's gone. Gone foul.
A couple of feet foul just by the foul pole.
2 balls and 2 strikes now to Omar Linares. 1 down. Swing and a miss. A good slider.
I was just about to say, Al, we'll see whether that has shaken the pitcher, and it apparently didn't. After getting the home run by Castro and then the line shot by Linares, but he came right back and got Linares on the strikeout.
Number 3, Pedro Hova.
And that is the first strikeout registered for Hung Sin Tu. Pedro Hova up to the plate now with 2 down and nobody on. Pedro Hova was 1 for 4 against Chinese Taipei in the round robin. A run scored. Left side, and it goes foul into the corner.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chinese Taipei manager out there shortly if his pitcher gives up another one of these line shots, even if it's a foul ball. He's got to steady him down a little bit.
Not a bad crowd on hand here this evening to appreciate some good baseball. Pedro Hova with a now 2 count, right back up the middle.
I'm looking down the line there, Al, but I don't see any movement by the management of the Chinese Taipei team.
Here is base hit number 5.
Makes things a little subdued up here in the broadcast booth at the moment anyway.
Of course, if you just joined us, we are sharing the broadcast booth with the Chinese Taipei television and radio announcers. There are 5 of them below us, within arm's reach of us.
And they're very enthusiastic fans for their home team, and who wouldn't want to do that if you were pulling for your own team?
Luis Casanova, the batter now, with 2 down and a runner on. Casanova with a base hit and a run scored in the first inning.
Caught the corner with it. Take a wide stance. There's 3 or 4 of these Cubans really take a wide stance. They get their legs far apart.
Outside pitch by Hung Chin-Tu. 1 ball and 1 strike now.
Casanova had a lot of trouble last night with the submarine ball thrown by Kukukawa of Japan, and that's why he was baffled. He struck out 3 times.
Hung Chin-Tu on the mound for Chinese Taipei has allowed 5 Cuba hits so far. One of them a 2-run homer by Juan Castro.
A lot of room in left center field, too. The left fielder is playing Casanova to pull. The center fielder is a little to the right of dead center field. Casanova hits with power to all fields.
Two balls and 2 strikes now to Casanova. The runner goes, and they've got him. Pedro Hova is thrown out at second base on an attempted steal. Luis Casanova is left at home with a count of 2-2. And here's what happened. Fu Lin Wu making the tag. But the Cubans score and tie the game. We are back at John Ducey Park, and this ritual happens after each inning for Chinese Taipei.
The interesting thing, Al, is that they remove their caps out of respect to the manager, and they have a little conference at the end of each inning when they come off the field.
Leading it off for Chinese Taipei is Young Nang Tu, who got a base hit in the first inning.
We have umpire Bill Lupina from the United States in the booth with us, Al, and we got a chance here. We'll ask him a couple of questions about the Intercontinental Cup. Bill, I'm kind of curious. You're from the United States. Do you know what were the rules on how you got chosen to come up here?
Well, I don't think there's any rules, Marty. I think what it is you get yourself well known through an area, and if the right people get in and so forth, you maybe get some recognition and selection.
Is it correct that you're from the Big Ten area? Is that where you do your umpiring?
That's correct. I generally do the Big Ten and the other small colleges in the Midwest area.
Tell me, what do you think of the caliber of ball you've seen in this tournament?
Well, this is the best baseball I've ever seen and worked for.
You got to be a little disappointed with the United States showing?
Well, nationally, being from the United States, I was hoping they'd do a lot better. I think the last 3 ball games, though, were an indication that they can play baseball very well.
Here's a look at the last pitch. A base on balls allowed by Jorge Valdez.
Valdez having some wildness problems in the last inning, and Tissert's still throwing down there in the bullpen for Cuba. Have you seen the Cubans play before, Bill?
No, not until I came up here to Edmonton. This is my first look at international baseball, period.
Wenxing Liu is the batter now for Chinese Taipei with nobody out and a man on first.
I would guess your first look at the Cubans would give you as much of a kick as the scouts have been.
You're right, Marty. I think they're probably as close to a Major League Baseball club as I've ever seen.
Pitching out, looking for the bunt. These teams from Asia pretty well play by the book with the situation that we have in front of us, and the Cubans are looking for that bunt. Bill, you're going in the bronze medal game tomorrow, are you?
Right, it's a big thrill for me. My first international experience, and being selected to work the plate in the third place ball game, in the bronze medal game, is quite a thrill for me.
1 ball and 2 strikes to the batter, Wen-Sing Liu.
Well, it's up for grabs who you're going to be umpiring. Of course, Japan with a tough loss today to Korea, and it looked to me like their pitchers were just getting a little tired. You've umpired a couple of the Japanese games, and I think both times with the same pitcher.
Right, and I can't recall his name, but if you can find him, Marty, in my opinion...
Nagatone.
Nagatone. In my opinion, he's the best pitcher that I've seen as far as being able to spot a ball wherever he wanted it.
Great double play here.
And that bails him out.
Been some great fielding here too, Bill.
I'm so impressed. There's certain things here that have happened on the playing field that umpires don't generally see, especially I don't see a lot of in the States, is what we call a time play, where you've got a runner potentially scoring and they're turning a double play, but they're not turning it on a force out. They've got the one at first base and then they're going to second with a tag situation. You've really got to be on your toes. And it's happened to me a couple of times, and I know it's happened to a couple of the other guys.
The batter is Chi Xin-Ye for Chinese Taipei, who got a base hit in the first inning. Bill, I've got to ask you about the communication factor out there when you've got a couple of foreign teams who speak very little, if at all, any English. Is that a problem?
It hasn't been, because baseball being an international language, out safe, everybody understands that. We've been able to communicate pretty much by hand signals and so forth. And talking to a coach if we needed it, there's always an interpreter available, but we've never had to, in my opinion, use them without them understanding. And I'll say one nice thing about the entire tournament: all the ball clubs, the benches, the managers, the coaches, all the officials, in the course of a ball game, it's been very few problems from the umpire standpoint. And it's a recommendation and a great thing to see that you're going out there to do your job, and the ball clubs will do their jobs and determine a winner that way.
Well, Bill, I thank you for joining us, and best of luck in tomorrow's contest.
Thanks, Al. Marty, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Bill Lapino, one of the umpires in this Intercontinental Cup. Bill from the United States. 2 balls and 2 strikes to the batter, Ye. 2 down and nobody on, thanks to a double play turned by the Cubans. Here's the 2-2 pitch.
Almost hit him. The play seems to have slowed down a bit, Al. It was moving along, even though there were a lot of hits and a lot of runs, but it seems to have slowed down a fair bit now.
The game itself has actually progressed quite slowly. I mean, we are 2 3/4 hours. Well, actually, no, it started at 7:30, so we are hour and 15 minutes, and we're only in the bottom of the 2nd inning or top of the 3rd right now. And in total contrast to this afternoon's game, which was in the 7th inning after only like about an hour and 20 minutes. So, and that ball is fouled off. The count goes to 3-2. But then again, this afternoon's game really slowed down once we got into the 7th inning.
Well, these are pretty important ball games to all the people concerned, and they're going to be deliberate when it comes to a tough time in the ball game.
Ground ball to 3rd. Linares fires it over, and a 3-up, 3-down situation for Chinese Taipei in the top of the 3rd inning. Welcome back to John Ducey Park. I'm Al Nagy, and Marty Larson is with me as we've got a 3-3 tie between Chinese Taipei and Cuba. Leading it off for Cuba in this inning will be Luis Casanova, followed by Antonio Munoz and Lourdes Gurriel.
Al, quite a compliment for the tournament from an umpire of the caliber of Bill Lapina, and we'll get a chance to see him in the bronze medal game tomorrow. He was umpiring the game behind the plate on Tuesday night between Canada and the Cubans.
Casanova was 1 for 3 in the last game, and here's a base hit for Casanova, the 2nd of the game for him. And when he gets on base, things can happen.
Looks like the big fella's back on track again after a couple of non-productive games, really, but at least by his standards.
Munoz, of course, with 6 home runs in this tournament so far. Make that, I'm thinking of Casanova, actually. Munoz is known as the... Casanova has the 6 home runs. Munoz, with a double, is up to the plate now.
Interesting when we're looking at numbers on ball players, the slugging percentages, which some of our figure filbers would like to know, and they're enormous for these Cubans.
Munoz with 2 home runs in the tournament so far.
See the big fellow shaking his head there. Whenever the ball comes in and it's a ball, he'll shake his head. If it's a strike and it's called on him, he'll nod his head.
The 1-0 pitch from Munoz to Munoz is outside. 2-0 now to Munoz. Nobody out and a man on first. Luis Casanova with a base hit. 6 hits in the game so far by each team. Ground ball to second. They've got 1 and 2. 4-6-3 double play. More outstanding defense by Chinese Taipei. Wen Qiangyu, the second baseman, flips it over to the shortstop Fu Lin Wu. He gets it over to the first baseman Pai Chen Ching. And there are 2 down. Here's another look at it.
None of those phantom double plays that you'll quite often see on television from the big leagues. They were right on the bag.
So with 2 down, Lourdes Gurriel is the batter now. He got an infield single in the first inning. Lourdes Gurriel is the left fielder.
Two seems to have settled down a bit after getting smacked for a home run back in the second inning.
Here is the 1-1. Misses low and outside to Gurriel. 2 balls and 1 strike now. Hung Chin Tu on the mound has allowed 6 Cuban hits. And it's a 3-3 tie.
One of the fun things at the tournament has been the trading of pins, Al. Here's the ground ball to second.
And Wing Ting Liu gets him. 4-3 on your score sheet. 3 up, 3 down also on your score sheet, and a 3-3 tie. We are back at John Ducey Park. We'll be looking at Chi Chun Lee to lead it off for Chinese Taipei, followed by Chai Chuan Chiang and Yung Tai Sung, the 3 batters in this inning. I'm Al Nagy with Marty Larson. A 3-3 tie between Chinese Taipei and Cuba. This the B semifinal. And the winner of this game will advance to the gold medal game tomorrow. And of course this afternoon, Korea coming up with a victory over Japan. So Korea will be the other team in the gold medal game tomorrow afternoon, which begins at 1 o'clock and which will be televised live on ITV. Actually, the gold medal game is the 4:30 game, if I'm not mistaken. The 1 o'clock game is the bronze medal game. And they will both be carried live on ITV, so we hope you'll join us for that.
Chinese Taipei have left 5 men on base through 3 innings, which is a fairly large number. The Cubans have left a couple. They're all even otherwise, though. 3 runs, 6 hits, no errors for both teams.
Chi Chun Lee takes the 2-0 pitch, and that misses. 3 balls and no strikes now.
Jorge Valdez has not been sharp with his control since he came in. And I think we'll start to see some action in the Cuban bullpen once again.
Valdez coming into the game in relief of the starting pitcher, Ronaldo Costa. And Valdez allows a walk. That is walk number 5.
Valdez walked him on 4 straight pitches. And if I were the manager, I'd be a little bit worried right now.
Tai Chuan Xiang, the right fielder, at the top of the batting order now, comes up to the plate for Chinese Taipei.
Be interesting to see if they go to their best hitter, at least in percentage.
Watch for the bunt.
And watch for the sacrifice. I think Cuba's looking for it. They're in close on the grass. Linares is already right up on the grass at the third base side.
Lai Chuan-Chiang, who won the batting championship in the Intercontinental Cup with a .531 average this year through the round-robin games. The runner goes, and the pitch is way into center field.
Stolen base on the plate. I don't know whether they would have got him anyway, Al.
So
the throw was not only high, it was offline too. So now we don't have to worry about the sacrifice, although they might do it yet. They might want to get the runner to third where a long fly ball would score him.
2 balls and no strikes right now.
I think we're going to see the smiling face of Jose Pineda out there before very long.
And I'll bet he won't be smiling. Chiang falls it back. 2-1 now the count from Jorge Valdez. Nobody out and a man on second.
We have 3 Canadian umpires in tonight's game, and 1 umpire is from Japan. Behind the plate is Dennis Papella of Fort Saskatchewan. First base is Howie Burney. The third base umpire is Ozzy Chavarria. And the second base umpire is Katsuhisa Fusei from Japan.
2-1 the count to Chiang. It's fouled back, 2-2.
That pitch was up around the eyes, but he liked it anyway.
Valdez, the pitcher, has the 8th best earned run average through the round-robin portion of the Intercontinental Cup. He's gone 9 innings coming into this contest. His earned run average of an even 2 is better than, or is one behind Mark Wooden of Canada. Ground ball to third. Linares gets the out at first, 1 down. Chi-Chun Lee remains at second base, and with 1 down, Jung Tai-Sung will be the batter. Third baseman Linares taking a couple extra steps, and he just looked over to second base to make sure that Chi-Chun Lee was going to stay there.
Sung is 2 for 2, Al. Pair of singles.
Of course, he had that infield single in the first inning when he laid down the bunt. That one came across inside, but it was called. 0-1 now to Jung Tai-Sung.
Pitch just caught the corner.
3-3 tie between Chinese Taipei and Cuba. They're in the top of the 4th inning. 6 hits in the game by each team.
It's interesting when Valdez is facing a lefty up there, he tends to come 3/4 arm, almost sidearm, and that's very effective against a left-hander. Well, almost very effective.
Here comes 1 run around the third. Chi-Chun Lee into home, and there will be no play at the plate. And watch the reaction from Juan Castro, the catcher. He's not happy. He was expecting to throw, Marty.
Very sharp running there by Chinese Taipei, because the cutoff man was Munoz right on the mound, and he was just looking for that runner to be going from first to second.
If we get a chance, keep an eye on the catcher, Juan Castro. He was expecting to throw, but the pitcher, Valdez, hung onto the ball.
Castro's not too happy. He's still waving at Munoz.
He says, we could have saved the run. Chinese Taipei takes a 4-3 lead, and the manager, Pineda, is going to probably make a pitching change.
And we're starting to get some excitement up here in the booth again now. And the fans down the third base side are starting to wave the flags and stomp and cheer.
The fans down the third baseline are really making a ruckus now. All the flags, Chinese Taipei waving.
conference out there.
Looks like Julio Romero's going to come in. And that is the case. So Julio Romero comes into the game in relief of Jorge Valdez.
They're bringing in the veteran here. He's 35 years old, and this is probably his final appearance in international baseball. But he's the #1 man on the staff when it comes to the money plays.
Julio Romero has gone 8 1/3 innings in the Intercontinental Cup so far. He's registered 5 strikeouts, allowed 11 hits, 4 runs, 3 of them are earned, and that brings his earned run average in this tournament through 3.24. 7 hits in the game now for Chinese Taipei as they take a 4-3 lead.
Interesting story here, Al. In the release we had originally on the tournament itself, the Chinese Taipei has been a bit of a bridesmaid in international baseball over the last couple of years. It was runner-up to Cuba in last year's World Championship, tied with Korea for 2nd place behind Japan in the Asian Games in January. But interestingly enough, Chinese Taipei defeated Cuba 7-4 in the 1984 World Championships, and in the 83 Intercontinental Cup won by Cuba, Taiwan beat Cuba 13-1 in the playoff round. They finished 3rd in the Olympics at Los Angeles last year. They beat Korea 3-0, so this could be interesting if they go on to meet Korea in the gold medal final tomorrow.
So Romero comes into the game, and he will come in after Jorge Valdez lasted 2 1/3 innings. Ronaldo Costo, the starting pitcher tonight, just went 2/3 of an inning. Ming-Tzu Lu will face the new pitcher. 1 down and 1 on for Chinese Taipei, and 1 run in this inning as they take a 4-3 lead. Breaking ball is fouled off down the 3rd baseline, 0-1.
After we gave this fellow a build-up before the game about how well he'd been hitting, he's 0 for 1 tonight. Has drawn a walk, though, and scored a run in the 1st inning. Got on with a fielder's choice. Ming-Tzu Lu, the designated hitter.
He was 0 for 5 in the round-robin game against Cuba.
A little high, and it's 1-1.
Julio Romero, number 23, in relief of Jorge Valdez. Valdez giving up 3 hits and 5 walks. The 1-1 throw. Up the middle and ground right back up the middle. Sung is going into 2nd base.
Another base hit.
1 down for Chinese Taipei in this inning. They've got runners at 1st and 2nd.
Great try by the Cuban 2nd baseman. A little looping liner, and he just touched it with the glove.
Goes into outfield. Lazaro Contreras has to play it after Antonio Pacheco was unable to get a grasp on it, and that'll bring a Fu Lin Wu. Wu is 1 for 1 tonight. He got a base hit in the 1st inning.
I think all the teams will be watching Cuba to make sure they don't get caught by the hidden ball once again. Not only is it embarrassing, it also tends to kill rallies. I'm told the Cubans have used the hidden ball trick about 9 times since they first entered the Pan American Games in 1967, and it's worked 8 of the 9 times. The only time it didn't work, the umpire wasn't looking.
So they even fooled the umpire. Fu Lin Wu.
Nice block by Juan Castro.
Wu has a count of 1-1, 1 down, and runners at 1st and 2nd. Yung Tai Sung over at 2nd. Ming-Tzu Lu, the designated hitter. Both with base hits. 8 hits
3.5 innings, Al, and we're certainly getting the runs and the hits.
8 hits in the game by Chinese Taipei, 14 hits in total. Called strike on the outside corner. 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Fu Lin Wu.
Quite a different game than the one we had this afternoon. Good pitchers battle for about 6.5 innings.
No question. The 1-2 to Wu. 2-2 now.
Strange part, Al, is that Cubans had great luck all through the tournament during the cold, rainy weather. Now that it's warmed up a little bit, they've been having their problems the last couple of days.
Two and two. Breaking ball into left center. Contreras runs it down and misses it. Here comes 1 run. Yung Thi Sung comes in to score. Another run coming around. Lu. A triple for Fu Lin Wu to bring in 2 runs, and Cuba takes a 6-3 lead. Lazaro Contreras, the center fielder, making an effortless stab at it. He even slips in the outfield on the warning track. And by the time he brings it in, Fu Lin Wu was in with a triple. Had Contreras not fallen in the outfield, Wu would have been gunned down at third. And that, by the way, is the 3rd RBI of the game for Fu Lin Wu. Chinese Taipei coming up with 3 runs in this, the 4th inning, to take a 6-3 lead. And we've got another conference on the mound with Jose Pineda directing the conversation.
This has got to be getting a little tough for the Cubans because undoubtedly their pitchers have been worked pretty hard the last few days too. And we see Tizard back up throwing for the Cubans.
And the Chinese Taipei section of the crowd coming alive once again.
Well, with 1 out, the man on third, we could see just about anything here. Some of the Asian teams love to play the squeeze. Linares is fairly close at third. I think they're looking for a bunt.
Pai Xianqing is the batter. Want to know the count to Xing. He's grounded out and got on base in a fielder's choice tonight.
I think Linares is trying to get some kind of a cue from the third base runner as to what's going to happen.
Fouled back, 1-1 now. One down in the top of the 4th inning, 3 runs in for Chinese Taipei. Fu Lin Wu is over at third, and the batter Pai Xianqing has a count of 1-1 with 1 down. Catcher Juan Castro quick to come across on that one, Marty.
Castro has been playing a good game behind the plate, Al. He's blocked a couple. He got that one, which could have quite easily gone off the side of the mitt and back to the backstop.
Which would have meant another run for Chinese Taipei.
And Romero hasn't been exactly overpowering in his appearance so far.
Pitching problems
make for an excuse me, Al. There's so many people talking up here right now. I'm not sure whether it's you or some of the other fellas.
I'm the guy speaking English, I think. 3 balls and 1 strike to Pai Xianqing with Fu Lin Wu over at third and 1 down. Fly ball to left center, and this should score a run. Fu Lin Lin Wu tags up at third. The throw will not even come into home, and it's an 8-er. Make that a 7-3 ball game for Chinese Taipei. 4 runs in this, the 4th inning. Here's another look at the sacrifice fly by Pai Xianqing, and high fives in the dugout for Fu Lin Wu.
You've got a couple of clubs with their hitting clothes on tonight. This one's not over by a long way because the Cubans have a lot of power in that lineup. We could see a lot of pitching changes tonight.
2 down now on the sacrifice fly by Pai Xianqing, and Yung Man Tu is the batter now.
We were talking earlier about a long game so far. It's got to be a long night for the plate umpire.
Slider catches the inside corner. 1 ball and 1 strike to 2. Julio Romero delivers right down the plate. 1-2 now.
2 hasn't even offered yet. And a couple of good pitches by Romero.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Yung Man Tu. Ground ball to third. Linares on the easy throw over to first, and that retires the side. But 4 big runs in this inning by Chinese Taipei as they let the bats fly. 7-3 lead on Cuba, but as Marty Larson pointed out, this game is by no means out of reach, especially with the Cubans.
Cubans fly out of here about 8:15 on Monday morning. They go to Vancouver, and then they fly to Mexico for about 3 or 4 days.
Where in Mexico would they be going?
Well, they're going to Mexico City, Al, because there's only 1 flight, I believe, from Eastern Canada to Cuba per week, and that leaves on a Sunday, so they wouldn't be able to get out of Canada to go directly to Cuba, and of course, they will not fly into the United States.
Antonio Pacheco got on base in a fielder's choice in his last appearance. 6 hits in the game for Cuba and 3 runs. Juan Castro with a 2-run home run in the 2nd inning, which tied the game at 3. 2 balls and no strikes. The count to Antonio Pacheco. Pacheco, the second baseman. There's a strike. Hung Chin Tu, number 35, on the mound for Chinese Taipei. He has the 4th best earned run average in the Intercontinental Cup, behind Ronaldo Costa, Ki Boom Kim, and Jose Alman.
Tu seems to have the Cubans a bit off balance, but just remember, 1 swing of the bat and they're back in the ballgame.
Ground ball, and it's through the hole on the left side, in between Chi Xian Ye and Fu Lin Wu.
Contreras got off to a great start. Contreras the next batter. We'll look at the base hit by Pacheco first. Again, the Hawks are pretty high and hard. Contreras had a great game in the first meeting against Nicaragua. He batted in 5 runs, had 1 home run. Cuba hit 6 home runs in that first game, and in fact, they've hit 1/3 of all the home runs hit in the tournament.
Oh, 1 to Lazaro Contreras. And it's been an unpredictable tournament so far, with teams defeating teams that have been the favored and underdogs coming up with wins, and it's been bizarre.
I know the Board of Governors, though, is quite happy with the fact that we have 2 teams with 6-1 records and 2 teams with 5-2 records. It indicates the caliber of baseball that we're watching. very well balanced among the 4 top teams.
Lazaro Contreras flies to right center field. Lee makes the catch, and Pacheco will have to go back to first base.
Rather interesting too, Al, the 4 lower teams, 2 of them had 2 wins and 2 of them had 1 win. So just the absolute reverse of the upper echelon.
Team Canada finishing with a record of 2 wins and 5 losses.
They finished 5th because they defeated the United States, and they were actually tied with 2 and 5 records.
Canada finishing ahead of the United States is something that is rarely seen.
This is probably the worst showing by the Americans in the history of the Intercontinental Cup.
Fernando Sanchez for Cuba with 1 down and a man on first. Pacheco's over at first.
Sanchez got on with a fielder's choice in the 2nd inning and scored ahead of the Castro home run.
There's a chopper to third. Yeah, makes the throw, and that is 2 down. Pacheco is over at second base now, so that advances the runner as Pacheco pulls up his socks.
Once again showing the tremendous arms that we see on the third base and shortstop baseball players here in the tournament. Just watch this throw.
This is Qi Xian Ye. Rockets one over.
He had to wait for that bounce to come down, and he still had the runner by a couple of steps.
Juan Castro with a home run tonight. Which was his 2nd of the Intercontinental Cup. Misses the first pitch, 0-1. Tell you what, these Chinese broadcasters really get involved in the game, don't they?
It's a lot of fun being up here with this group. And I guess we'll be up here for 1 more with them.
Looking forward to that one tomorrow. Whether it be in the...
I don't think we even have to describe the game, Al. We'll just let the enthusiasm of the Chinese Taipei broadcasters tell it for you.
0-2 the count. Whether it be, of course, the championship final or the bronze medal game, ITV will be carrying both games. And while our viewers are watching the game, we are able, of course, to hear our Chinese fellow broadcasters up here ourselves. The viewers, I understand, are not able to pick up the background noise or the background sound because of our unidirectional mics. However, the broadcasters up here are very exciting vocally. 2-2 the count to Castro, and he fouls this one off as well. 7-3 Chinese Taipei out in front of Cuba.
Since the home run by Castro, 2 has faced only 1 over the minimum number of batters. He got a double play, of course, to help him out, and one of the Cubans, Pedro Hovo, was caught stealing.
And that goes foul. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Juan Castro, who smacked a home run in the 2nd inning. Castro, by the way, was 0 for 2 against Chinese Taipei in the round-robin portion.
Castro is in there more for his defensive ability and his ability to work with the pitchers. He's not noted as a big hitter, but he's had a pretty fair tournament.
A dependable catcher.
Did well against Canada on Tuesday night.
Sure did.
59th birthday of Fidel Castro that day.
The 2-2 pitch. Close call, 3-2 now, as the breaking ball misses. Two down for Cuba. And a man on second. Bottom of the 4th inning. Antonio Pacheco, number 47 there in your picture, and an outside pitch. Cuba with runners now on first and second. It appeared to be another breaking ball, Marty.
And what's happened now, of course, is that you get runners in scoring position, and Linares up there, and he was deadly the other night against the Americans. He was the star of the game. He scored 1 run and drove in the tying run and then the winning run.
Tonight, Omar Linares has grounded out and struck out. Only 1 strikeout registered in this game for Hu Qin-Zhu, starting pitcher for Chinese Taipei tonight. He's allowed 7 Cuban hits so far, and we're in the bottom of the 4th inning. Fouled off down the right side.
Linares doesn't try to pull it. He just goes with a pitch. And most of the Cubans do that.
Hu Qin-Zhu with a 1-1 count.
Casanova may appear to pull it, but he's just hitting it where they're pitching it.
There's a chopper over the middle. Will there be a play? No! They beat it out.
Very close to an interference call there, too. The Cuban runner was going to second, and the second baseman had to come in there to make the play.
Omar Linares uses his speed to beat out the high chopper over the head of Hu Qin-Zhu. And the second baseman, Wen Chen-Liu, went to first. But as you can see, Linares beat it by a mile. Meanwhile, over in second, there's the interference that you were talking about, Marty.
Very close to it, Al. I don't think it would, obviously they didn't call it, but it was close to being an interference call.
So the bases are loaded now for Pedro Hova, and a grand slam would tie the game.
Hova's not noted for the long ball. He could go a long way to solidifying his claim to the All-Star shortstop position with a hit here.
Hova does not have a home run in the Intercontinental Cup so far. Comes into this game with a .226 batting average, a count of 1-1 to Pedro Hova now. He was 1 for 4 in the round-robin game against Chinese Taipei. Hova goes to the right side. Ground ball. Liu plays it, and Cuba leaves 3 men on base. 7-3 score. Chinese Taipei out in front. Julio Romero, the 3rd pitcher into the game for Team Cuba, is still in there. Despite the problems he's been having, Romero has allowed 5 walks in the game. Four runs the last inning for Chinese Taipei, and problems for the Cuban pitchers tonight.
Now we're only 4 innings into the game. We've got 10 runs and 17 hits. And pretty much as we thought it might go.
Wei-Xing Liu is the batter for Chinese Taipei to get things going. He'll be followed by Qi Xian-Ye and Qi Chun-Li.
We're about an hour and 45 minutes into the ball game, and we're only starting the top of the 5th. Different tempo than the game this afternoon.
These teams have gained a reputation in the round robin, though, for their potent offense. The 1-0 pitch. Ground ball, shortstop, Hova. 1 down.
Romero jammed him on that one, and he hit it off the fist.
Fastball fading inside, Marty. And Hova just flips it across. Qi Xian-Ye tonight has a base hit in the 1st inning and grounded out in the 3rd. Nine hits in the game for Chinese Taipei so far. Fastball. And Julio Romero appears to be getting stronger. 1-1. Romero comes into the game in relief of Jorge Valdez and Ronaldo Costa.
He and Antonio Munoz are the elder statesmen on this team. It's again the situation. You talk to one source and they tell you that Munoz is 36. Somebody else told me that another Cuban told him that Munoz was 41. I'm inclined to believe he's 36. Great athlete at first base. He can twist and turn and pick up the throws from all angles.
The 1-2. Very close, 2-2.
Interesting to hear a comment from someone like Bill Lapina, who is from the Chicago area, as to the caliber of the baseball players in the tournament.
2-2 is fouled back. He's very impressed, isn't he? Very impressed at what he sees out on the field.
A lot of good baseball players come out of that area where he umpires, the Big Ten Conference. And I think you'd get a chance to see a lot of Major League ball down there. We'll get a chance to rate him in tomorrow's 1 o'clock game.
Fly ball to left. Coming in forward is Gurriel, and he makes the catch on the run. 2 down.
Interesting drill the Cubans were using in their pregame infield practice, Al. They would have the 2 shortstops. Hova is one of them, and Verde is the other. And they were hitting ground balls to them fairly close to the bag. The second baseman would cover, and they'd pick up the ball with the glove and then just shovel it over to the second baseman with the glove.
Ji Chun Lee, the center fielder, steps up to the plate now with 2 down and nobody on. Lee was 1 for 1 against the Cubans in the round-robin portion of the tournament.
I guess we could expect a lot of excitement from Chinese Taipei in this game because of the fact that the Cubans defeated them in that earlier contest.
One ball, 1 strike now to Lee with 2 down. That brings the count to 1-2 now.
Earlier in the day, we were getting quite a breeze blowing from left field over to right. We can see some of the banners still waving, but many of the flags are not too active now, so the wind appears to have died down considerably.
Fly ball to right. Luis Casanova makes the play. So after an inning in which they score 4 runs, Chinese Taipei welcome back to John Ducey Park. I'm Al Nagy with Marty Larson. A 7-3 Chinese Taipei lead. Bottom of the 5th inning now. And Luis Casanova, the big gunner for Cuba, will step up to the plate. Casanova with 2 hits tonight and a run scored.
Jose Pineda there on the screen just walking down to assume his position in the third base coaching box.
Hung Chi-tu, the starting pitcher for Chinese Taipei, has allowed 8 Cuban hits so far, 2 of them by this man. And there's a breaking ball over, 0-1.
Apart from the home run by Castro, though, he's scattered them very nicely.
There you see the numbers on Hung Chi-tu so far this game. Luis Casanova falls behind. The count is 0-2 now. Casanova finished 7th in the batting championship round-robin portion of the Intercontinental Cup, where they average of 429.
We talked earlier about the banquet last night, Al, and Casanova and all of the Cubans were right in there mixing with all the other players. It's a great international event, the way these fellows get along with one another, congratulating one another. And the other night after the ball game between Cuba and the United States, which the Cubans won, they were all over talking to the American ball players after the game for, I guess, half an hour, 45 minutes.
Two balls and 2 strikes to Luis Casanova. Ground ball and another base hit, the 3rd of the game for Casanova. He will go into second for extra bases. He's in there standing up.
3 for 3 for Luis. He'll probably be around on this team for a number of years.
Fastball right across the plate, and Casanova sent it down the third base line. Antonio Munoz, who doubled in the first inning and grounded into a double play in the third, steps up now. Left fielder Yung Tai Sung running that down in the corner.
Wouldn't be surprised we might see some action in the Chinese Taipei bullpen now. 9 hits in just over 4 innings is quite a few.
Munoz sends it to center field. Chi Chun Lee coming across, makes the catch, and here goes Casanova. He's going to hang up.
The run.
He's going to hang up.
And once again, Munoz hitting to the left side, even though he's the only left-handed batter for the Cubans.
Lourdes Gurriel will come up now with 1 down and a man on second. Gurriel with an infield single in the first inning and grounded out in the third.
That was the subject of some of the press criticism of the Canadian team starting a left-hander against the Cubans when the Cubans only had 1 left-handed batter in the lineup.
Ground ball. Casanova runs to third. And Wu guns down the batter Gurriel. 2 down now. Casanova's over at third. You see, watch the way Casanova hesitates as the ball came to him, hoping to throw off the shortstop Wu. Watch Casanova, the right part of your screen.
Has to be careful with that because he could be interfering too.
However, Fu Lin Wu was not shaken or thrown off, and he gets the ball over to first to make it 2 down. Antonio Pacheco steps up now. Pacheco's reached base twice tonight, a fielder's choice and a base hit, and an RBI for Pacheco here. The base hit going up the middle, making it a 7-4 ball game. Cuba comes back with a run.
That's Pacheco's second hit of the game. He's 2 for 3.
Luis Casanova scores on the play. That's the second run scored by Casanova in the game. And Lazaro Contreras will step up to the plate now.
Cuba has now out-hit the Chinese Taipei team by 10-9.
The high pitch. 1 ball, no strikes. Contreras with a walk in the second inning and a fly ball to left. I think that's center in the 4th inning. Sinker ball there, 2-0. Haven't seen the sinker much from Hu Qin-tu this evening.
These Cuban batters are great students of the pitchers, and you'll see that about the second time around they'll begin to get their rhythm a little better. And you have to be careful you don't leave the pitcher in too long if they're starting to hit. And they're not only starting to hit, they're continuing to hit.
2-0.
Taking all the way on that one.
Two and 1 to Contreras. He fouls it back.
Boy, he was going for downtown on that one. Contreras is another one of the Cubans who likes to hit the low ball. There are 4 or 5 of them that are just love to get that low ball and golf it out into the right center field area.
The 2-2 pitch from 2. Breaking ball goes to short. Fu Lin Wu gets the first runner at second. Antonio Pacheco is forced out. The Cubans leave 1 man on base and score a run. It's now 7-4. To the top of the 6th inning at John Ducey Park. I'm Al Nagy with Marty Larson, and we will see for Chinese Taipei, Tai Chuan Qiang, Yung Tai Sung, and Ming Tzu Lu.
Al, in the 1983 Intercontinental Cup, they tried something which they're obviously not repeating this year. 4 teams advanced into the playoffs, and they played a round robin. I think one of the reasons they changed that was that 3 of the teams ended up tied once again.
Good reason to change it. Ground ball to third. A good stab by Linares. He had to go down on his knees to bring that in. 1 down.
You've got to hit it a lot harder than that to get by Linares.
Now batting the left fielder, number 93,
regaining his balance. Linares makes the casual throw over to first.
He looks almost lazy making those throws, Al, but he's got a lot of power in that arm, and he just zips that ball over.
Jung Tai-sung, the batter, the left fielder. Jung Tai-sung 3 for 3 tonight, an infield single, along with singles in the 3rd and 4th innings. There's a called strike. And Sung has also scored a run.
We mentioned earlier in the day that after the game, the final gold medal game tomorrow, an all-star team will be announced for the entire series, along with the overall series most valuable player, plus a most valuable player for each individual team. And there are awards for all of those people.
Julio Romero on the mound for Cuba with a count of 2-1. Jung Tai-sung 2-2 now. Chinese Taipei getting their runs in bunches this evening. 3 runs in the 1st inning and 4 runs in the 4th.
Romero appears to have found his rhythm, and he's just cruising along right now.
Right side, it's a fair ball. Munoz has problems with it, and it's a base hit. Jung Tai-sung is now 4 for 4 on tonight's game, Marty.
Never fails. As soon as I say something like that, it happens. I didn't really say it to try and jinx him.
Just inside the right field line, Munoz trying to backhand that ball, and it took the bat hop. A base hit for Jung Tai-sung. He's 4 for 4, and with 1 down and a man on, Ming Tzu Lu, the designated hitter, steps up to the plate, and he has scored 2 runs for Chinese Taipei tonight. He's also been issued a walk. That happened in the 2nd inning.
Lu represents a lot of the power on this team, but he hasn't come through in the last few games. He's probably due. 10 hits apiece now.
The outside pitch by Julio Romero. He came into the game after Jorge Valdez lasted 2 2/3 inning, and Valdez came in after Ronaldo Costa went just 2/3. Costa, the starting pitcher, giving up 4 hits and 3 runs. The 2-0 misses. 3 balls and no strikes now. Chinese Taipei starting to get something going here once again.
After the series this afternoon with a low-scoring affair, now a high-scoring game, makes you wonder what kind of games we're going to see for the 2 finals tomorrow.
The 3-0. That missed. 4 pitches, and he's on base with a walk. And that is the first walk allowed by Julio Romero. Jorge Valdez, the pitcher before him, allowed 5 of them.
Once again, Louis Tiesert is up throwing in the Cuban bullpen. He's been throwing probably half the game, thrown as many pitches as any one of the pitchers out there, but they keep bringing in somebody else. This time, if they make a change, it would be Tiesert. But I think he's going to leave Julio Romero in there. You notice that conversation, Al, it was more the catcher talking to the pitcher to begin with, rather vigorously.
Juan Castro, the catcher, has been quite vocal in this game.
I think the manager just seconded the motion.
Jose Pineda, the manager of Team Cuba. Fu Lin Wu, the shortstop for Chinese Taipei, has a triple and a single tonight. And a walk. He scored 2 runs. And he's driven in 3 of the Chinese Taipei runs.
He really cranked that triple out into center field.
Showed some good speed getting into 3rd, though, too. That one is just foul.
He's really getting around on Romero. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does get a hold of one that we'll be looking for a new pitcher.
0-2 is the count to Fu Lin Wu. One down and 2 men on. It's first and second. Ten hits in the game by each team. Julio Romero will just step back off the rubber. Here's the 0-2. Breaking ball outside to shortstop. Pedro Hova gets one. No, they don't get the first man, so that means Chinese-Taipei will have runners at first and third. What could have been an inning-ending double play turns out to be just one down, or one out, making it 2 down, and here's a look at what happened. The shortstop, Pedro Hova, makes the play. Meanwhile, Sung goes over to third.
Second baseman took a little extra time getting rid of the ball, and I think that was the difference.
And Fu Lin Wu is on at first with Sung at third, and the batter will be Pai Shen Ching. Ching with an RBI and a sacrifice fly in the 4th inning. He's also got on in a fielder's choice and grounded out.
We've had a lot of runners in the ball game, Al. There's been a lot of bases on balls by the Cuban pitchers, too.
Here's the 1-0. It's fouled back. 5 walks given up by Jorge Valdez tonight. And one by Julio Romero, who's in there now. We're in the top of the 6th inning, and it's a 7-4 Chinese-Taipei lead. Now, the home plate umpire has signaled to the official scorer as the Chinese manager has elected to have a discussion with him. This telecast is protected by copyright and is intended for the non-commercial entertainment of our viewing audience. Any use, reproduction, or distribution in whole or in part of the pictures or descriptions herein contained without the express consent of ITV is strictly prohibited.
I think we're getting a change here, Al.
Now batting number 6,
Qing Long Yang comes in as a pinch hitter for Chinese-Taipei. Yang has had only 2 plate appearances in the tournament so far. 2 for 2, 2 runs scored, and 2 RBIs. He's also been given 3 base on balls. Here's the 1-2. A pitch out.
The runner at first gave them the bluff, and they were pitching out all the way. Great bit of chess playing out here at times.
Two and 2 to Yang with 2 down, runners at the corners. The pitch from Romero is low, and there goes the runner. They go to second, and he's safe. Fu Lin Wu is in at second with a stolen base.
Well, that's a couple of steals by the Chinese-Taipei team. Very close play, but he was in there. That lower foot was on the bag well ahead of the tag.
Do you question a play like that, Marty, when you've got a 7-4 lead and there are 2 down?
Well, that is a bit of a strange one, although they're getting away from the force play by doing that, Al.
Here's a fly ball to left.
But that's going to be the 3rd out.
Lourdes Gurriel makes the catch near the wall. No runs on 1 hit for Chinese-Taipei in that inning. It's still a 7-4 game. Welcome back to John Ducey Park. I'm Al Nagy with Marty Larson. Last inning, Chinese-Taipei showing that they are not going to let up, even though they have a 3-run lead, Marty. They put in a pinch hitter, and they also stole a base with 2 down.
One of the features of this game, too, Al, is that both teams are playing errorless ball.
Now batting, the designated hitter, number 29, Rolando Verde.
Pinch hitter now for Cuba.
Rolando Verde comes in place of Fernando Sanchez.
Verde is the second-string shortstop on this team.
Verde is 0 for 4 in the tournament so far with a run scored and an RBI. One is fouled off.
Sounds like he's using one of the old bats. That one really clanked.
There is a noticeable difference, isn't there?
It actually can be a little annoying on the ears when you hear those aluminum bats hit the ball on a foul.
Interestingly enough, it sounds louder higher up in the press box. The 1-2 pitch is fouled off into the right field seats. Yang, that's Yang, the first baseman, who's now into the game in favor of the previous first baseman, Pai Xianqing. And Hung Ching-tu, the starting pitcher for Chinese-Taipei, has done a fine job, but so has his defense. Su has allowed 10 Cuban hits so far, but he has a 7-4 lead.
He's struggled a bit at times, Al, but seems to be able to get the outs when he needs them.
Exactly right. 1 ball, 2 strikes to the batter, pinch hitter Verde. This one goes into right field. Chiang coming across. He can't get it, and it's a fair ball. Verde will go into third. A leadoff triple for the designated hitter, pinch hitter Verde, and that'll bring up Juan Castro with nobody out.
The right fielder appeared to get a very slow start on that ball and didn't really judge it too well.
And as you can see, it might be kind of hard to tell from that replay. It is, but it was just fair. That ball just fell in there. So we go to the bottom of the batting order. Juan Castro, who's got a 2-run homer tonight in the 2nd inning and a walk in the 4th inning. Cuba down by 3. The score 7-4.
Discussion out there at home plate with the interpreter saying that that ball was foul. I'm sure that's what the argument is about.
Chinese-Taipei manager Tao Hoi Tien, number 63. And now the home plate umpire, Dennis Papella, will talk things over with the first base umpire, Howie Burney, just to confirm his ruling. And things are squared away.
I don't think you'll see that kind of arguments that you might get with a Canadian or an American coach out there either, Al. The manager gets out there, speaks his piece, and then accepts the umpire's decision. I meant to ask Bill Lapina the other inning or so when we were talking to him what it felt like to have players come up and tip their cap to him, because some of the Asiatic teams do that. It must be quite a shock to some of the umpires.
You got that right. Juan Castro takes a strike from Hu Chin-tu. Castro was 0 for 2 in the round-robin game against Chinese-Taipei, and tonight he is 1 for 1 with a walk, 2 RBIs, and that home run. 0-2 the count to Castro. On deck will be Omar Linares. And of course, over at third base, you saw designated hitter Rolando Verde, who tripled to get it going here in this inning. Close, but outside.
I think the fans wanted that one. They were trying to call the strike for the umpire. This young pitcher has been out in the mound there for quite a while, Al, almost 2.5 hours. He's got to be getting tired.
The 1-2 delivery. Cut fastball gets away from Hu Chin-tu, so the count goes to 2-2. Winner of this game will advance to the gold medal game tomorrow afternoon at 4:30. 2-2 pitch goes into right center. Chiang and Lee going after for it. It falls in, and here comes a run. Rolando Verde scores. And Cuba is slowly pecking away at the score. 1 run last inning and another run this inning makes it a 7-5 ball game.
That's going to be all for the pitcher.
Juan Castro now has 3 RBIs in the game, Marty.
Maybe he knows we're televising his game again tonight, Al, because he certainly did well on Tuesday night.
And we're going to get a pitching change. Hu Chin-tu doing a fairly credible job for Chinese Taipei. He has them in a 7-5 lead, but he's allowed 12 hits so far, Marty.
He's struggled. He's given up all the runs, and the runner at first base is his responsibility, but he's getting a great round of applause from the fans, especially on the third base side.
So Hu Chin-tu going 5 innings plus, allowing 12 hits by the Cubans.
Question now, Al, will be how good are the relief pitchers for Chinese Taipei, because that was the problem Japan had earlier in the day. Their relief pitchers just couldn't hold the Koreans from adding to their run total.
Hu Chin-tu also giving up 2 walks, getting 1 strikeout.
I think we're getting a Cuban chant over behind their bench now, too.
Well, like we mentioned, Marty, this game far from over, as we have a new pitcher into the game for Chinese Taipei. Fu Ming-tu on the mound, and there you see his numbers. This, of course, from the Intercontinental Cup tournament in the round robin, a 2-0 record and a 3.11 earned run average.
Interesting couple of characters sitting up in the third base side of the bleachers, Al. 2 of them sitting there wearing Fidel Castro type beards and trying to lead some kind of a cheering section for Cuba over there as well.
And they're in the wrong section, though. Fu Ming-tu into the game for Hu Chin-tu, the starting pitcher. Fu Ming has gone 17 1/3 innings so far in the Intercontinental Cup. There you see in the middle of your screen one of the fellows with a beard. And the other partner is just to his left, or on your screen, just to the left of your screen. Imitation of Fidel Castro wearing a California Angels cap. Good stuff.
I think that's something Fidel Castro would have liked to have done. He did try out, of course, for the old Washington Senators in the American League and was cut by the Senators.
To the top of the batting order for Cuba, it's Omar Linares. Linares grounded out in the first inning, struck out in the second, and got on base on an infield hit in the fourth.
Linares has an odd batting stance. He sort of coils up like a snake, ready to strike. And when he unwinds, he can really lash the ball.
I believe the Cubans are claiming that the Chinese pitcher balked. 3-2 the count to Linares from Fu Ming Tu.
Fu Ming Tu is the big gunner on this Taiwan pitching corps. He's 25 years old, and he was the winner in a 13-1 win over the Dominican Republic at the Olympics. And he's been a big star here at this tournament.
Fastball gets him swinging. What a pitch by Fu Ming Tu. And the first batter he faces goes down swinging.
Second time tonight for Linares to strike out, Al.
And for Fu Ming Tu, that is strikeout number 8 of the tournament. But by no means does it allow the Chinese Taipei team to breathe a little easier at this moment, because Pedro Hova steps up to the plate and he represents the tying run. Of course, there's a man on, that being Juan Castro at first. 1 run in already for Cuba in this inning. 7-5 score. Gets him swinging again. 1-1.
I think the Cubans were kind of getting used to the previous offerings of Tu, who was getting a little tired. A lot fresher pitcher in there now, Fu Ming Tu, and looking very strong.
Two balls and 1 strike to Pedro Hova, the shortstop. On deck for Cuba is Luis Casanova, who is 3 for 3 tonight with 2 runs scored.
Caught the outside corner, and I think Chinese Taipei would definitely like to get out of this before Casanova gets up there. Certainly they don't want another runner on when Luis comes to the plate.
Fly ball to center. Chi Chun Lee makes the catch. Castro goes back to first.
We'll see if Casanova can keep up his streak now, Al.
Casanova 3 for 3 with 2 runs scored. He's got a double and 2 singles. Of course, the big gunner for Team Cuba throughout the entire tournament. Fu Ming Tu came into the game this inning after Hung Chu Tu gave up 5 runs, 12 hits.
Cuban cheering section has quite a rhythm going for them.
5, possibly 6 runs. Of course, on first is Castro, and that run will be charged to the starting pitcher should Castro score. Here's the 0-1 delivery. Gets him swinging again, and I'll tell you, Tu has that fastball working.
I think Casanova's a little overeager right now. He's trying to put one over the fence and get Cuba tied. There'll be a big cheer if they retire Casanova.
The 0-2. Casanova flies to right. And it goes foul. Pretty good power to the opposite field, Marty.
He has pretty good power, period, Al. Whether it's right at you or right over you. A great throwing arm, too. One of the best arms I've seen in the tournament.
Here's the 0-2 to Casanova. Breaking ball just missed. 1 ball and 2 strike, and a good eye by Casanova. Many players would be tempted to go after that one, because when they're that close, you just can't let them go by. But Casanova felt confident that it would be called a ball, so the count goes to 1-2. Fouls another one back. You'll notice in behind home plate how the fans ducked away from that pitch. The protection there, of course, is a screen, but the holes in the screen sometimes get wider after that the balls come in and and smack at 90 miles an hour. And I've sat behind home plate at times when the balls have slipped through. And you wonder why you see people ducking and diving to get out of the way. You can understand why, even though there is a screen in front of you.
Fu Ming too still in front of Casanova, but he goes down and golfs it.
Ground ball, and they get the force at second. 5-4 in the play. Cuba leaves a man on base, gets a run, and trails by 2. We are back at John Ducey Park. My name is Al Nagy, and I'm with Marty Larson. A 7-5 Chinese-Taipei lead over Cuba.
A game that turned out pretty much as we thought it might, Al. 12 runs so far, 22 hits, great fielding, no errors. Cuban pitching perhaps a little less than one might have expected with the numbers of walks they've issued. The veteran of the Cuban pitching staff on the mound, Julio Romero, 35 years old, and he's one of 4 Cubans who were here in 1981 who are back this time. Casanova, Munoz, and Hova were here in 81 as well.
Jungnan Tzu, the catcher, will lead it off for Chinese-Taipei in this inning, followed by Wen-Tseng Liu and Qi Xian-Ye. Jungnan Tzu tonight has had a fairly good ball game. His base hit in the first inning drove in 2 runs. Here's the 1-0 delivery from Romero. 2 balls and no strikes now. Romero came into the game after Ronaldo Casto lasted just 2/3, followed by Jorge Valdez, who went 2 1/3.
One of the comments in the program on the Cuban team, Al, was from the head coach of Team USA last year, and he says these players are of great caliber.
You see Pedro Hova, the shortstop, could not get a handle on the ball, and it's going to be interesting to see whether they label that as a hit or an error. I would think they'd have to say hit because that ball was hit deep, and whether or not Hova would have been able to get a throw to first would have been questionable.
It really handcuffed him.
Watch how deep he was here, and if he had made the throw, I don't know if he would have been able to make it on time.
That was close.
They lay down the bunt, and the pitcher, Romero, will go for the easy out. 1 down. That advances the base runner. 2 is now over at second base. That is Wen-Tseng Liu making the sacrifice bunt, and it'll bring up Qi Xian-Ye.
I was about to quote by the an expert from the United States who coached Team USA last year, and is a coach at the University of Southern California for the past 42 years, and he suggests at least a dozen players on this Cuban team who could be in pro ball either at the AAA or major league levels. And I think that's the sort of comment we got from Bill Lapina as well. Actually, there are quite a few players in the tournament who I think would fit in very nicely with the Trappers. They'd be delighted to have some of these people from Chinese-Taipei, from Korea, or from Japan.
The way the Trappers have been playing lately on the road, they could use some hitting. I'm sure they'd welcome anything like that.
Trappers are actually having a pretty good second half. They're a game in front.
They are.
And they come home for games, I believe, on Monday and Tuesday against Calgary.
And ITV will be televising Tuesday night's game, beginning at 7:30. The 0-2 count now to Qi Xian-Ye. Ye has a base hit tonight. Chinese-Taipei with a runner at second base and 1 down. Jungnan Tzu with a base hit and goes to second in the sacrifice bunt by Liu. One and 2 the count now.
I think a little nail biting there by our confreres here from Chinese-Taipei. They were a little nervous that that might have been called strike 3.
Romero gets set for the 1-2 delivery. Across the plate and a ground ball over the third. It's foul by a couple of feet. Going back to second base, Jungnan Tzu. On deck in the back of your picture, is Chi-Chun Lee.
I know the other members of the Board of Governors would like me to congratulate Al Hood of the Trappers for the marvelous job he and his grounds crew have done here for this tournament.
Hova has problems with this one again, and I think that will be labeled an error for sure. Pedro Hova with a couple of balls being hit his way in this inning.
I'll tell you, Al, I think the last two plays by Hova may be costing him some votes for All-Star shortstop. Very nonchalant about that, and the other night the same thing happened. He went down for a bouncing ball and just sort of nonchalanted the whole thing, and it went by him into center field.
That wasn't an extremely hard hit ball. I think if Hova had played it a little differently, whereby blocking the ball rather than just trying to backhand it, I think he had time to get across. That's an error to the shortstop, Hova, and it puts runners on first and second for Chinese Taipei. With one down, the batter, Chi-Chun Lee.
I think he appeared to lose his concentration there. And a player of his caliber just shouldn't do that.
One ball, one strike to Chi-Chun Lee. One down, runners at first and second for Chinese Taipei. They lead it by 2 in the top of the 7th inning. Julio Romero getting a sign from the catcher Castro. Outside pitch, 2-1. Cuba not getting the clutch pitching that they need in this evening's ball game, and they've got some action in the bullpen. You'll see just to the right of your screen. The 2-1 pitch right across the plate. 2-2 now.
Cuba still out hitting Chinese Taipei 12-11, but they're trailing in the ball game 7-5.
And the wind has died down this evening at John Ducey Park. There you see the action in the Cuban bullpen.
We have 2 Cuban pitchers warming up at this stage. Tissert, who's been out there all night, probably has pitched a whole game already.
And Jose Aleman. The 2-2 pitch. Called strike. Gets him on a called strike.
A big out for Cuba at this moment.
2 down. We go to the top of the batting order now for Chinese Taipei, and Tai Chun Ching, the right fielder.
After an opening inning hit, he's been held off the score sheet for the last 3 times up. This is the batting champion for the round-robin portion of the tournament.
5.31 average. "17 hits coming into this contest. Chang also has 1 tonight. He's also struck out once and grounded out twice. Scored the first run of the game.
If you were picking the All-Stars, Al, and you've got Chang, who's batted .531, playing right field against Casanova, would you still go for Casanova as your All-Star right fielder?
I suppose it would have a lot to do with the success of Chang in today and tomorrow's game, but I would probably go with Chang because of the rest of the power on the Cuban team. What about you?
Well, I'd say it's awfully close. As we mentioned earlier, there are 4 right fielders and 4 left fielders in the top hitters. There's the 3rd out.
All right, we'll get back to that thought in a moment. It's still a 7-5 lead. Welcome back to John Ducey Park for this Intercontinental Cup B semifinal between Chinese Taipei and Cuba. I'm Al Nagy with Marty Larson. The score 7-5, and the Cubans will try to come back into the game and tie it up. Antonio Munoz, Lourdes Gurriel, and Antonio Pacheco will be the batters. Let's just get back to your thought, Marty, on the All-Star voting for right field between Luis Casanova and, of course, Tai Chun Ching of Chinese Taipei.
Well, I think one of the factors in the hitting side of it that has to be taken into account is where does he come up in the batting order and what has he done as far as RBIs. That can make quite a difference. I think as far as fielding goes, they're pretty much on a par. Although, again, Casanova does have the great arm.
Two, the count to the batter Munoz. Fu-Ming Tu is on the mound. He came into the game in the 6th inning after Hung Ching Tu lasted, 5 innings, of course, plus with 12 hits. Strikeout, 2 walks.
Catcher setting up outside after going 0-2. They weren't going to make that mistake that some pitchers make of going for the 3rd strike, ending up somebody hitting one into the outfield.
Missed. They throw to first just to make sure. 1 down. Strikeout number 2 for the relief pitcher Fu-Ming Tu. Lourdes Gurriel will come to the plate now. He's grounded out twice and got an infield single tonight.
You don't get El Gigante striking out very often now.
On 1 to Gurriel. Base hit right back up the middle for Lourdes Gurriel. The 2nd hit of the game for Gurriel. And as far as Cuba is concerned as a team, it's hit number 13 of the game. That makes it 24 hits in the game between the 2 clubs.
Really astonishing that in 6+ innings, the Cubans have 13 hits and really only have 5 runs.
They've left 7 men on base so far in the game, Marty. Pacheco to the shortstop. Wu, he's got 1, and Wu has 2. And how's that for defense? And it pulls Chinese Taipei back into command. Chinese Taipei will try to build on their 2-run lead in this inning. We're in the top of the 8th right now. And Cuba continuing to leave men on base. This last inning, though, Chinese Taipei turns the double play and does it very nicely.
YT Sung coming up, and he's 4 for 4. 4 straight singles.
On deck is Ming Tzu Lu, the designated hitter, followed by Fu Lin Wu. Slow curve is fouled off. Julio Romero has allowed 5 hits. Since coming into the game. Another breaking ball, this one inside. And the count goes to 1-1. Chinese Taipei finishing the round-robin portion of the tournament with a 5-2 record. Cuba ending up at 6-1 following their loss to Japan last night. Here's the 1-1. And Japan losing earlier today on the ITV telecast to Korea in a very exciting game. A game that was totally opposite to this one. Plenty of defense in that game and some outstanding pitching. A 4-3 score. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Sung.
The veteran Romero seems to have put things down the last few innings. 3 goose eggs in the last 3 innings up there for Chinese Taipei on the scoreboard.
Right back at Romero, and he won't get it. Will this be a hit? Yes, it will. The second baseman, Pacheco, I think, was very alert in not throwing that to first because Sung had already tagged first base. Sung showing a great amount of speed. It's going right back at Romero.
That one took a funny jump as it hit the mound. hit the glove of Romero, but he couldn't squeeze it. And an infield scratch hit.
And of course, that is the 5th hit of the game for Jung Tai Sung, Marty. He's had an outstanding game. He's also got an RBI and scored a run. It's also the 2nd infield single for Sung.
Question now is, will Chinese Taipei sacrifice? It appeared at that time that the batter, M.T. Liu, was going to swing away.
Liu stepping out of the batter's box to get his signals from the third base coach. And Romero stepping off the mound just to check back the man over at first, Sung. No balls, 1 strike to Liu, the designated hitter, batting in the 3rd spot in the order. Sung going back to first. What a game for Sung.
MVP for sure if we were giving away the award tonight.
Right now in the 7th inning or the 8th inning, he would get it. That pitch almost gets away from the catcher Castro, who does a good job. It would have meant the advancement of Sung to second base.
Sung is another example of the problems the All-Star selectors are going to have with 4 of the left fielders being in the top 10 in the batting. And he's certainly making a bid for All-Star honors the way he's hitting tonight.
Sung coming into this game with a batting average of .417, 7 RBIs, 4 strikeouts, 4 base on balls. That batting average is going to take a big leap after tonight. 5 for 5.
He's batting 1,000 in the playoffs.
1 ball and 2 strikes to the batter Ming-Tzu Liu, the designated hitter. Romero checking back the base runner Sung. Two balls and 2 strikes now to Ming-Tzu Liu, the DH. Liu has scored 2 runs tonight for Chinese Taipei.
We still have action in the Cuban bullpen.
2 pitchers casually throwing there right now. The 2-2. Outside, 3-2.
Way outside, and the Cuban pitchers all evening have been throwing a lot of pitches. Getting behind. Romero coasted along for the last couple of innings, but he's run into a little trouble now.
It'll be interesting now, Marty, to see if Romero's going to come right back after him with a man on first and nobody out. The 3-2, right back up the middle, and a base hit to the left side. Sung is going into second, and Liu is on at first.
Would you believe 26 hits in this ball game?
Liu, and he did come right back after him. Liu goes to left field. Back-to-back hits for Chinese Taipei in the 8th inning. Nobody out. Runners at first and second. And Fu Lin Wu will be the batter.
Here comes Jose Pineda out to talk to the pitcher, and we may have a change right now. Yes, we're going to have one.
You got it. Julio Romero will go out of the game. He's the 3rd Cuban pitcher.
Talk about famous last words, Al. I think my comment earlier was that the warm weather has certainly allowed the pitchers to loosen up and do a better job. Not with 26 hits out there.
I believe Tizard will come into the game. 7-5 score. Chinese Taipei leading Cuba. Cuba hasn't been getting the pitching they need. Ronaldo Costa gave up 4 hits over 2/3 of an inning. Jorge Valdez lasted 2 1/3, giving up 3 hits. And we are going to get Alleman coming into the game.
Amazing thing is, Tissard has been throwing all night out there, and they haven't brought him into the game.
The guys with the beards are getting concerned.
Alleman doesn't look the most cheerful person in the world out there right now.
Valdez going 2 1/3, giving up 3 hits, 5 base on balls, and Julio Romero is now out of the game as well. 13 hits allowed by the Cuban pitchers so far. They trail by 2.
I believe Alleman pitched against Korea in the Cuban victory over Korea and gave up his 1 run at that time. Pitched a pretty solid ball game too.
Alleman has gone 9 innings, Marty, and has a 1-0 record in this tournament. He's got 6 strikeouts registered to him. He's allowed 7 hits, 1 run, an earned run, so that means his ERA stands at 1 even through 9 innings, 1.00.
Cuban infield talking things over because they're wondering whether Chinese Taipei will sacrifice at this point with runners on first and second, nobody out. If you can push those runners over, a base hit or a long fly ball brings you in 1 or maybe 2 runs.
Jose Allman into the game with nobody out, and there's the situation. Runners at first and second. Julio Romero lasting 3 2/3 innings, allowing 6 hits, 1 walk, and 2 runs. Romero also registered 1 strikeout.
Fairly shallow center field being played by Lazaro Contreras there for Cuba. And they had a play on there. Pedro Hova bluffed moving over to his right with the hope that they'd trap the runner too far off the bag while the second baseman came in behind him and picked him off. And Pacheco was there, but so was the runner.
Allman delivers.
And they were pitching out again.
1-0. Ming-Tsai Liu over at second base, followed by Ming-Tsu Liu at first. Fu Len Wu has a count of 1-0. Tries to lay down the bunt. The count goes to 1-1.
Munoz coming in there, of course, and the third baseman Linares playing back. And the Chinese Taipei batter trying to put one down the third base line.
Of course, the runners would love to advance right now, eliminating the possible force. 1-1 the count to Fu Lin Wu. Liu has scored 2 runs tonight. He lays down the bunt. Allman looks back, goes for the easy out. Runners advance.
Sacrifice works on that case. And we have runners at second and third.
Chinese broadcaster flashed a sign to me just a few moments ago saying this is really baseball. It's their style, Marty.
Well, they're now in good position, Al, because they've got the runners at second and third, and they've got the number 5 hitter coming up, the first baseman.
Ching Long Yang. He came into the game as a pinch hitter in the 6th, and they're going to give him the intentional walk, which will load the bases with 1 down. And then he'll have to pitch to Young Nang Tu.
And he is 2 for 3 with a walk.
So the Cubans are hoping they'll be able to turn the double play by loading the bases.
You get wheels within wheels here, Al, because now the Chinese Taipei third base coach was talking to the next batter, and one begins to wonder if they might not try a squeeze. He may also, of course, if he hits the ball slowly enough, there's no way they're going to get a double play.
Why not? Why not just lay it down?
Well, we'll see what happens. The Cubans are back at double play depth.
2 runs are by no means enough against Team Cuba. Young Nan Tu, the batter. Bases are loaded with 1 down. Top of the 8th inning for Chinese Taipei.
And the center fielder is still playing very shallow.
Last inning, Tu got a base hit. He's got 2 on the night. Reviewing the men on base, Jung Tai-sung got an infield single to get on. That was followed up by Ming-Tzu Liu, the designated hitter, in his single. Fu Lin Wu sacrificed the runners over, and Yang was given an intentional walk. The count, meanwhile, to 2 is 0-2.
Fans very unhappy with the call.
Romero gets ahead with a 0-2 count. And the pitch out. And they're willing to waste 1 pitch with the bases loaded.
Well, he was ahead 0-2, and I think Elliman has that much confidence in being able to get the ball over. He's doing a better job of it than the previous pitchers.
Outside, Elliman brings the count to 2 balls and 2 strikes with the bases loaded for Chinese Taipei. 1 down. Top of the 8th inning.
Cubans were in a tight fit like this against the United States the other night and ended up getting the run in the 9th inning to win the ball game.
Dramatics, Marty. 3-2 to Yungnan Tu.
Well, I wonder if they'll be sending the runners.
Ground ball to third. Linares gets the man, the force at home. Bases are still loaded. They settle for 1, 2 down. Jung Tai-sung is thrown out at home on the force. Any base, as they say. And Linares, the third baseman, had the easy play at home.
Didn't want to take the chance of going for the double play because if they were too slow, then the run would have scored. And now we have the manager out once again. This time it'll just be instructions.
We might see another pinch hitter, Marty. Wensheng Liu is the batter scheduled to step up, and he received instructions from the manager a few moments ago, Tao Ho Chien. And it looks like we will see Liu stepping up to the plate. So Chinese Taipei loads the bases in this inning. And with 2 down, the batter is Liu. Liu with a base on balls in the first. Grounded into a double play in the third. Grounded out in the 5th. And a sacrifice bunt in the 7th inning, advancing the base runner 2. Right now, the man at third is the designated hitter, Ming-Tzu Liu. 1 ball and 1 strike to Wensheng Liu. 1-2 now.
Chinese Taipei has left about 9 men on base. If they leave these 3, that would be quite a few. That would be an even dozen. You can't afford to leave that many men on base.
They left 3 men on base, Marty, in the 2nd inning. 2 in the 1st. 2 again in the 6th. 2 last inning. One ball, 2 strikes to Wensheng Liu. Ground ball right back up the middle. Pacheco gets the force and throws over to Hova. So a 4-6 play to end the inning. Chinese Taipei leaves 3 men on base. We're We're back at John Ducey Park. I'm Al Nagy with Marty Larson. It's a 7-5 score. Chinese Taipei leaving 3 men on base once again, Marty, and that might come back to haunt them.
They left 7 on in the last 3 innings alone, and you just can't continue to do that against a team like Cuba.
For Cuba, in the 8th inning, we'll see Lazaro Contreras, the center fielder, followed by the designated hitter, Rolando Verde, and Juan Castro, the bottom 3 in the batting order.
Certainly not the bottom 3 in production, though, because Castro has had a pretty good evening.
Contreras is still looking for his first base hit, though. Oh, look out. Fu Ming Tu on the mound, lets one get away from him. One and 0. Two and 0.
Dennis Papella is not winning any popularity awards with the fans down the third base side.
Same pitch.
That one was a little higher.
3 pitches, 3 balls. When you're up by 2 runs, that's one thing you do not want to do, is allow the lead man on. There's a called strike, bringing it to 3-1 now. "13 hits by each team in the ball game. The 3-1 delivery is called strike again. So Fu Ming Tu delivers a full house.
They certainly want to keep this bottom third off the base, and they're not doing it.
Looks to me as if Contreras is frustrated with the walk that he's just been allowed. If I was him, I'd be happy to get on.
I would think so. He's got on base, and that's what he's supposed to be doing.
He was motioning after he was issued that walk. And that'll bring up Rolando Verde representing the tying run.
I would think there might be a hurry-up call to the Chinese Taipei bullpen about now. They want to make sure they've got somebody hot. They may have somebody down there already, Al. We can't see it from this angle.
Fu Ming Tu delivers a ball. 1-0.
And we're going to have a visit from the manager.
Rolando Verde, the designated hitter, has scored a run tonight. He tripled in his first appearance at the plate in the 6th inning. He came in relief of Fernando Sanchez. Tao Hoi Chin, the manager for Chinese Taipei.
I think he wants to make sure that Fu Ming Tu doesn't get too far behind and then groove one, because Verde really cranked one out last time.
Fu Ming delivers another ball. 2-0. See the man smiling over at first, and that is Lazaro Contreras.
He still looks angry about something.
First baseman Yang for Chinese Taipei will make the catch again and deliver some instruction over to his fellow infielders, Wing Qing Lu and Fu Lin Wu. The 2-0 pitch. Runners now at first and second. Now, wait a minute. And the man who was on first, Contreras, congratulating the man who took that pitch, Roland Verde. Here's a look at it, Marty. Verde actually stepped into it.
Looked almost like he stepped right into the pitch.
And I think Contreras knew that he did that intentionally, because he went over and congratulated him and said, "Thank you very much."
Lots of trouble now.
Tying runs are on base with nobody out for Cuba, and that brings up Juan Castro. Castro with a 2-run homer in the 2nd inning tonight, and a base hit later on.
They were looking for the sacrifice.
Wonder when a guy has the power of a Castro, if you'd like to ask him to hit away in this situation, or...
No, I think I'd be bunting.
Yeah, and
get
he's
those runners over.
Squaring off, but then again he chokes up and he pops it up. Now look at...
That's the infield fly rule. He's up. Check that. Had that been fair, it would have been infield fly.
Foul territory, 1 down.
The first base umpire was signaling the infield fly.
You wonder, Marty, had he not squared off to bunt in an effort to throw off the pitcher, if he'd been able to get a better handle on that ball and make better contact.
Linares was going for downtown. I think still think he should have been bunting. You've wasted the out as things stand at the moment, and you might have had the runners down at second and third.
Linares has struck out twice tonight. He comes up now with 2 men on.
If Linares had connected on that first swing, it would have all been academic because it would have been out of here.
0-2 the count to Linares now.
Fuming 2 is changing his speeds on Linares, and Linares was way out in front of that second one. Perhaps as a youngster like that, he's a little too eager, and the manager, Jose Pineda, comes down and tries to cool him down a little bit.
Bottom of the 8th inning, 7-5 lead for Chinese-Taipei over Cuba. Cuba has the tying runs on base, Contreras at second, and Verde at first. Did he go around? No, says the third base umpire. First base umpire.
My Cuban contacts today told me the Blue Jays suggested they would make a deal for Linares, and he would strictly play the home games with the Blue Jays. Therefore, he'd never have to travel to the United States. Gives you an indication of just what these scouts really think of this player. The Montreal Expos scout suggested that he could play 6 months in Montreal and play another 6 months in Cuba. Linares says he's going to university.
The 2-2 pitch. Called strike. Linares goes down, and that relieves the pressure, certainly, as there are 2 out now.
That's the 3rd time tonight that Linares has struck out.
Something you rarely see.
It may be that the pressure of the tournament is getting to the young man, and which wouldn't be that big a strike against him, because more seasoned players than he have had troubles in a big tournament.
Casanova struck out 3 times the other night.
That's right.
Strikeout number 3 in the game as well for this pitcher, Fuming 2.
A couple of big outs after getting in a jam early. I'm sure he'd like to get Hova out so he can face Casanova with nobody on.
Well, if that's the case, they would actually retire the side, but still, he would be facing Casanova with nobody on next inning anyway.
Cuba's left 7 men stranded so far.
A blooper, and it is over the center fielder. Here comes 1 run in. Believe it or not, the Cubans are within 1. Lazaro Contreras comes in to score. It's a 7-6 ball game, 14 hits. The RBI going to Pedro Hova on his 2nd hit of the ball game, and here's the looper going over the second baseman, Wen Sing Lu.
Tremendous leap at second base.
Center fielder Chin Chin Lee bringing in the ball, and with 2 out, Cuba scores a run. They're down by 1. The score is 7-6.
They've just been pecking away since Chinese-Taipei went up 7-3 in the 4th inning, and Cuba's come back with 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, and now 1 in the 8th.
And this is the man that I'm sure Sue would rather not face. Look out, high fly ball, left center field. It is caught. What a a cheer from the crowd. Caught near the wall. And what a way to end this inning. Luis Casanova, who's knocked 6 home runs this inning, this game rather, or this tournament, has almost put one out again. Could have been his 7th home run of the tournament, but look how close it was. Jung Tai-sung going all the way to the wall to make the catch and end the inning. Like to get some insurance here. And the leadoff batter is Chi Xin-ye. He'll be followed by Chin Chun Lee and the man at the top of the batting order, Tai Chun Ching. The 0-1 delivery. A fastball by Alleman. The count goes to 0-2. Both teams leaving many men on base tonight.
The bottom 3 in the Chinese Taipei order have not been too productive tonight as far as hits go. I think they have one between the 3 of them.
Swing and a miss and a strikeout. Registered for Jose Alleman. And for Alleman, that is strikeout number 1 since coming into the game in the 8th inning. Alleman, since coming into the game, has not given up a hit. And this is the 6th batter he has faced, and there's another strike as it catches the outside corner.
Alleman's looked very sharp.
He's throwing the ball hard, Marty.
He knows this might be the only inning he pitches if the Cubans don't score to tie it up.
One ball, one strike from Alleman to Chie Chun Lee, the center fielder.
He was called out on strikes his last time out.
Goes for the fastball again. It's low and away.
Alleman's almost working a little too fast here.
He'd like to get his teammates back to the plate, Marty, in the batting order. He's anxious to get them back into this game after they scored a run last inning. That one caught the outside corner again, so that pitch is working for Alleman as the count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes to Chie Chun Lee, the center fielder. On deck is Tai Chuan Xiang. Fly ball. Pacheco, the second baseman. He missed
Drops
it.
in.
Lack of communication between Luis Casanova, the right fielder, Lazaro Contreras, the center fielder, and Pacheco. And I think it would have been a better play for either Contreras or Casanova because Pacheco was backpedaling.
Absolutely. Should have been the center fielder or the right fielder, and they didn't call off the second baseman. Now we see that Casanova actually just was much closer from the side. I think that the center fielder should have kept on running, but the second baseman didn't appear to hear him getting called off.
That, by the way, is being labeled as a hit, so we go to the top of the batting order. With 1 down, it's Tai Chuan Xiang. Chang has a base hit. He's scored a run tonight. He's also struck out, grounded out twice, and flied out. 14 hits by each team. Chang lays down the bunt. They've got him at second base. Chun Li Chi is forced out at second, or thrown out rather.
Once again, they got the ball too close to the pitcher. Yes, he was out. But the bunt was too directly towards the pitcher. It should have been down the line, and they'd have had the runner at second.
2 down, and Jung Tai-sung.
5 for 5.
5 for 5 and only 1 RBI.
And he's only scored once. But his opening inning bunt certainly got the Chinese Taipei team off and running as he followed trying to sacrifice, and he dragged it past the pitcher's mound, and nobody could make a play.
2 balls and no strikes. There's one. 2-1 with 2 out and a man on first. Chinese Taipei leading by 1, 7-6 in the top of the 9th inning. On deck is Ming Tzu Lu, the designated hitter. 2 balls, 2 strikes with 2 out and a man on now. Tai Chung Chiang on first in the fielder's choice.
You're looking ahead to the 9th inning. Cuba will have Munoz, Gurriel, and Pacheco.
The count goes to 3 balls, 2 strikes now.
Alleman really wanted that one, Al. He thought it was strike 3.
An amazing 28 hits in this ball game.
21 men left on base between the two teams, 12 by Chinese Taipei and 9 by Cuba.
The 3-2 delivery. Fly ball. Foul territory. The third baseman coming across, and that'll do it. Chinese Taipei failed to get any insurance. They lead by 1. Bottom of the 9th inning and plenty of dramatics as Chinese Taipei leads by just 1 run. There you see the numbers on the board. 14 hits by both teams, by either team. Antonio Munoz, the first baseman, will lead it off for Cuba and trying to get things going. Lourdes Gurriel and Antonio Pacheco are the scheduled other 2 batters to follow.
The score sheets are getting rather full this evening.
Munoz tonight doubled in the first inning, grounded into a double play in the 3rd, flied out in the 5th, and struck out swinging in the 7th. This one is fouled off to right. Chiang, it's in fair territory, makes the catch near the wall.
That was a big out.
I thought it was going into foul territory. The breeze, the ball was up high, and I think the breeze pulled it back in, Marty.
He got right under it, though, Al. He didn't get good contact, and it went too high. Very reminiscent of the long fly ball by Casanova in the last inning.
1 down. And that'll bring up Lourdes Gurriel. He's got 2 hits tonight, one of them an infield single. Gurriel coming into this game with a hefty .414 batting average. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fu Ming-tu going right after Gurriel.
The big hole once again in left center. The center fielder is playing way over on the right side.
Outside pitch to Gurriel. Chinese Taipei hoping to hang on. The 2-1 delivery. Into right center field. It will fall into the deepest part of the ballpark. Gurriel is rounding second, and he's going for third. He's got a smile on his face as he goes in standing up, and the tying run is just 90 feet from home.
You've got a couple of pretty fair hitters coming up too, Al.
Anywhere but this part of the ballpark for Chinese Taipei.
Despite the fact that they had 2 outfielders well to the right of the center field area, they still got the ball between them.
Antonio Pacheco will step up now with 1 down and a man on third. Pacheco tonight has 2 base hits. He got on base in the first in a fielder's choice and grounded into a double play in the 7th inning. 15 hits in the game for Cuba. They trail by 1. Pacheco coming into this game with 4 RBIs. A fly ball deep will score the tying run.
They have to want to get either a strikeout or a ground ball.
Lourdes Gurriel is over at third. And the count is 0-1.
Relatively shallow, Al, looking for a play at the plate.
Chopper to short. They will not go to home. This game is all tied up. And look at the Cuban dugout. It's emptying. To congratulate Lourdes Gurriel, who comes home with a tying run. It's a 7-7 game. And here's the reason it's all tied up. Antonio Pacheco with the RBI on the chopper to short. I'm kind of surprised that Fu Lin Wu did not go home. I thought if you want to prevent the tying run, you go home regardless. But
that ground ball that bounced off that, Al, had the hang time of a Hank Olisic punt.
Chinese-Taipei gets them out. Game's tied. The Cuban pitching is starting to put some zeros on the board, Marty. Jose Alleman into the game, strikes out the first Chinese-Taipei batter. Ming-Su Liu, the designated hitter, goes down swinging in the top of the 10th inning. This game's tied at 7. You look at the scoreboard, Chinese-Taipei with 3 in the first inning, and then, of course, that big 4-run 4th inning. But after that, zeros across the board.
They've only had 5 hits in the last 5 innings, too, Al. They got 9 hits in the first 4, and really the Cuban relief pitchers have done the job.
Fu Lin Wu at the plate now. Fly ball to center. Lazaro Contreras going back. And he makes the catch. 2 down.
Well, it's Alleman's game to win or lose now for Cuba. And Fu Ming-Tu is the pitcher of record for Chinese-Taipei.
Over the last 4 innings, Marty, Chinese-Taipei has left 8 men on base.
I think that's the story of the game, Al. The number of men they've left on base, 13 total in the whole game. And you may also go back to the early part of the game, in fact, the first inning, when that runner ended up at third with another runner already there. They'll be thinking about that one for the rest of the night.
With 2 down, the batter is Qinglong Yang. Yang came into the game in the 6th inning as a pinch hitter. He flied out, and then in the 8th inning was granted an intentional walk. 1 ball, 1 strike to Yang. This one's popped up foul.
The interesting thing is the number of games in the tournament that have been affected by bad base running or by mistakes in coaching at third base. And 4 years ago, when the United States defeated Cuba to win this tournament, it was some base running errors by Cuba that really cost them the game. They had to go to extra innings.
Fly ball to right. Munoz is going back. Casanova coming in. Can't make the catch against the clubhouse wall. Not a lot of room in foul territory, Marty.
No, he ran right up against the wall. And when you don't know that right field wall that well, it can present some psychological problems, I'm sure.
And I believe Munoz or Pacheco. It looks like Pacheco was injured on the play. Or Casanova, one of the 3. They were all in the area. Now the rest of the team's also coming over.
That's just the way they do it. I'm surprised the pitcher's staying there, but I guess he can stay warming up.
Here's a look at the play near the clubhouse wall.
He may have bumped his head after the initial attempt at the catch.
I think it's Casanova.
I think that is Luis Casanova.
The entire team over there concerned right now. And Casanova will stay in the game.
Cuban trainer and physiotherapist out to look at Casanova. You can imagine somebody coming all the way from left field to check on the right fielder.
Well, how about Linares from third base? The whole team came across except the pitcher.
Some of these funny little things that the Cuban team does, I think, have some other reasons. They get you thinking about what they're doing and how different they are, and I think it sometimes breaks your concentration. Certainly, that's what they're trying to do in some cases with the other team.
Jing Lunyang has a count of 1-2. The outside pitch.
Castro tried to call that pitch for the umpire, Dennis Papella.
2 balls, 2 strikes with 2 down and nobody on. Top of the 10th inning. Cuba coming back with single runs in the 8th and 9th to send it into extra innings. Another pop fly to right field. All 3 are coming across for it. This time Casanova makes the catch and makes sure he stays away from that clubhouse wall. So a 3-up, 3-down situation for Chinese Taipei in the top of the 10th inning. Ming Thu Lu, the designated hitter, strikes out. Fu Lin Wu flies out to center. And Jing Lunyang flies out to right. And we go to the bottom of the 10th inning, and can Cuba come up with the go-ahead run that will put them into the gold medal game? And again, you see Casanova coming across to make the catch. I'm not going to run into this wall this time, he says. Of course, the bronze medal game goes tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And that will feature the loser of this game against Japan, which lost this afternoon to Korea by a score of 4-3. An extremely exciting game that nearly went into extra innings as well. The gold medal game and championship will go at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon between Korea and the winner of this game. ITV will broadcast both games. And of course, the closing ceremonies and presentation of the championship medals will be awarded after the last game.
Al, the difference in this game in the last 4 or 5 innings has been the fact that the Cubans have cashed in their runners. They got the lead batter on in the 5th inning and managed to get him home. They got the lead runner on in the 6th inning and he scored. They got the lead runner on in the 8th and he scored. The second runner on in the 9th and he scored.
And here in the 10th to lead it off, Rolando Verde, the designated hitter. Verde has a count of 1-1. He came into the game in the 6th inning and proceeded to get on base with a triple. He later scored in the base hit by Juan Castro. In the 8th inning, Verde took a pitch. Here's a blooper over to second, Lu. And the throw to first is on time, 1 down. I think any time there is a base hit to the extra innings, I think the infielders have to be a little nervous, a little cautious as well.
3.5 hours since we started this ball game, Al. 29 hits, 14 runs, 1 error. .22 men left on base in total.
Juan Castro flies to center field. Chi Chun Lee going back to the warning track. He can't make the catch against the wall. Castro is rounding second and he's going for third. There will be no play at third. Castro goes in sliding. And with 1 down, the go-ahead and winning run is at third base. Castro may have injured himself going into third. And here's what he does. Takes Fu Ming Tu to center field, and Chi Chun Lee goes back near the wall. And look what happens.
Castro is certainly the hitting star of the Cubans for this evening with a home run, a triple, and a single.
We go to the top of the batting order, and Omar Linares, who has struck out 3 times tonight, Marty.
Linares is 1 for 5, and he's always dangerous.
Linares, the man that all the scouts are talking about. The pitch out.
Cubans have just pecked away at it since the 4th inning when they trailed 7-3. And it looks like they're going to, are they going to put Linares
Looks like
on?
they're going to put him on intentionally, Marty.
Pitch to Hova.
I question that. I don't know if I'm in position to do that, but the guy struck out 3 times tonight.
That's true, but he's one of the fine young hitting talents in baseball today.
Pedro Hova, the man on deck, has a couple of base hits tonight and an RBI. So Linares gets on, and we will see Pedro Hova.
We were talking during the A semifinal, Al, about the manager of the tournament, and up until that time we felt that perhaps the Japanese manager Suzuki would win that honor, but he got into trouble today. Now one wonders just what's going to happen with the Chinese-Taipei situation, and we've got the manager coming up for a discussion with Fu Ming Tu.
And just before that, the plate umpire, Dennis Papella, had a word with Ozzie Chavarria, the third base coach, or umpire, rather. Now we have the conference on the mound between Fu Ming Tu, the Chinese reliever, along with their catcher, Yongnan Su.
And Dennis Papella, the home plate umpire, giving his instructions to his first and third base umpires just to make sure everybody's got everything clear. Looking to see what happens, because the question here is, if there were a double play, it's going to depend on which way it goes, whether the run might score.
Pedro Hova at the plate. Inside pitch, 1-0. Cuba has runners at the corners. Orlando Verde, the designated hitter, grounded out to get going in the 10th inning, but Juan Castro followed up with a triple to get on base, and then Omar Linares was issued a walk. Fly ball, this might do it, it's going to center field. Lee makes the catch. The tag. The play. He dropped the ball. The game is over. Cuba wins it, and they will advance to the gold medal game. The catcher, Yongnan Tu, dropped the ball, and it's all over.
Very close play at the plate there, Al. I'd like to see that one again. Bitter disappointment for Chinese-Taipei after leading by 4 runs in the 4th inning. An inside pitch, and he got under it with enough strength to drive it to center field. And here's the play at the plate. The catcher had him blocked, but the ball just wasn't able to be caught. I think the ball came in right on the ground. I don't think the catcher could get control of it.
What a way to end the game. Sacrifice fly, the RBI by Pedro Hova, bringing in Juan Castro from third, and Cuba wins by a score of 8-7. Welcome back to John Ducey Park and a jubilant Cuban ball team as they score the winning run in the bottom of the 10th inning. The sacrifice fly by Pedro Hova, driving in Juan Castro, who tripled. And it's all over. An exciting way to end the game. And Marty, you go back to the first inning when Chinese-Taipei made a base running error that could have made the difference in this ball game.
That's right. They could have been left with men on base and another chance to bring home some more runs. They bungled it, and that may be the story of the game. The other story, I think, is the fine relief pitching of the Cubans, especially by Eleman, who came in and really shut down the Chinese people, and the Chinese-Taipei people left 13 men on base. You just can't win against the Cubans when you're not cashing in the chances you get.
So it is going to be Korea versus Cuba tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 in the gold medal game, and that'll be brought to you on ITV Live. But before that, it's the bronze medal game featuring Japan and Chinese-Taipei, 1 o'clock, and once again, ITV will televise that live. We look forward to talking to you at that time. And until then, for Marty Larson, I'm Al Nagy. Thank you for joining us, and good night from John Ducey Park.